music and images, okay? Just some excerpts for you to maybe know how to work. Ideas, different ideas on how to use with your students on your most beloved songs or your students' most beloved songs. You will decide that. This is also due to the reduced a lot of time that we have for presentations. I used to work in a kind of a mode that it was the real workshop where you and I interact. You play with me, you do several things, but in 45 minutes, that is not really possible. Sorry, I had to cut it out. So what you get in return is a bunch of ideas on how to work with some oldies that never go song. So how, or at least who can explain where these oldies go? Because I didn't have any other idea to use the acronym this way. The presentation could have been titled SOND, some oldies never disappear, SONFA, some oldies never fade away, but I wanted to use the acronym SONG. So you decide where the songs, the oldies, go. If they go to work, if they go to study, wherever it is, okay? It's a joke, but anyway, it's good to explain it because you will say, some oldies never go. It doesn't sound, okay? Anyway, so nobody can deny the power of music and the effect it has on our minds. We remember many special moments according to different hits that have gone through our lives. Even though we wouldn't know them played or sang by the original artists, if they sustain the brand of classic, they can be covered by any contemporary artist and still survive on top 40 lists. Another important thing that we can do with all these activities, it's to dig into the different decades they were hits on their own. They are related to many different landmarks of our recent history, and they can also be studied together with the artist itself, with the legacy of the artist. They mean an endless source of inspiration for us to speak and to show different emotions. That's why I subtitled the presentation, A Roller Coaster of Emotional Things, okay? They can also bring back good or bad memories. We can remember a song even if we don't like the tune because of some special, we will see it later, but you will see according to something that happened to us at the moment when we were listening to a specific song. And what if we always wanted to know what the artist or what the authors really meant with those lyrics? This is something that digital translator and even artificial intelligence can't cope with. And this is what we called text or poem analysis. At this stage, on our as educators, on our role as educators, is very important because we can relate many topics with some lyrics or poems that have become really hymns, right? Regardless the message they really transmit, right? So this time machine riddle, as I decided to, is also an excuse to make us feel better at the moment of flashbacking our own life, to make us reflect, to stand up and dance, or simply to smile when we listen to them, to the songs. That's, for me, the utmost idea of getting identified with and sharing the same code that only music can bring. Okay, we're going into the general outline of the presentation. Can you distinguish there is a lot of light. There's inside here, but maybe, can you read? Right. Okay, thank you. First of all, I'm going to talk about the selection of songs, or at least what I did. Then how to connect with a song. Then the first time machine riddle, in which we will play with the decades of these songs when they were created. Then important landmarks, something I decided to use from the time machine, okay? So we are going to talk about our recent history because there is a connection between the decades where the songs were really created and important things or facts that really happened at that time. Then the artists, okay? So maybe their legacy, to know more about them. And this is something that we can work separately or all together. A second time machine riddle where we're going to introduce different elements that we have from above, and then the content or some content in the lyrics and cover versions. This is for us to discuss something which one is better, the original or the cover version, okay? Then finally, the downloading info, sound and image, which is something I think is a share process where we have to share with our students, with the people who are really, you are teaching, depending on your own situation. And bonus tracks, something I will select as a kind of bonus tracks. And something important about all these things that I'm going to mention is that I always work in music-based learning with the term adopt and adapt. So you can adopt the ideas I created. I was talking to you just a moment ago, before lunch, talking about, for example, 20 years ago and the ideas that some of you are still using, okay? And multidisciplinary way of working is one of the main, or my main aim at the time of working with music, okay? So you can use music with all the different subjects. English, we are very, very proud to say that English is one of the best areas where we can work different kind of subjects. Well, good. And then we have, you can adapt them according to you adopt the activity the way it comes, or you can adapt it maybe to your own level, to the levels that you are working with, or with a different kind of students, or any kind of syllabus or whatever. Good. Let's go into the first one. All right. Here we have the selection of songs. I selected 70 songs from 7 different decades. So this is a kind of exercise like a 24th of August, but in September. Okay, right. So we will work a kind of old hits, really old hits. But remember that I stopped in 2010. I didn't get into the 20s. Okay, so there is always a discussion where do the oldies come from? When they started? Who started with the idea of that kind of, let's say, a holiday kind of day that we have on the 24th of August, where people come from different nearby places, okay, to Uruguay. Well, here we have, for example, some decades from the last century and 2 from this century. And I want to choose, for example, from the 50s, this one.
Party in the county jail. The prison band was there, they began to wail. Man was jumping and the jump began to swing. You should have heard this knocked out jailbird sing and rush. Everybody.
From the 50s, you know, the artist, Elvis, right? And we're going to go 3 decades onwards, and we will start here. took me away. Right. Good. Something I didn't mention, I selected these songs from each decade from different charts, from the British charts, American charts, right? And there is a good a variety of different styles in there. Okay, most of them pop and rock. And here we go into the something more recent.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch and it's bringing me out the dark. Finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out and I'll lay your ship, babe.
Right, good. Well, you will continue with the current over there. You were mentioning something about Uruguay. I heard it. What? The Uruguayan charts, which decade? For example, 60s, we have, I don't know, but Shakers, which were, they were okay. 70s, we have a kind of, well, something that it was a little bit cloudy. And then the 80s, the 80s, we have something different. Okay, maybe here we have Jaime Ross from the, well, Argentinian rock, all those kind of things. You can build, sorry, your own charts according to the country. That is another thing. Here we're studying, through music, we're trying to study English, but wait until the end. Whenever we don't care about music or that we don't pay much attention to it, there is something in our minds, a kind of indicator which tells us we can recognize a specific tune. So how do we connect with a song? So these are the possible ways. For example, a good or bad memory, right? An instant image, maybe something we see, we can associate it with a song. A film image, which is something more frequent. The artist itself, if we are a fan of the artist, maybe. The decade, maybe we are fan of a specific decade. Our teen lifetime period, right? This is something crucial because when we are teens, generally we associate different kind of song and we still remember we remember them up to now. And then historical events. For example, yesterday. Not the song. Yesterday. Take it literally. Take it literally. Yesterday was September the 11th. Okay, 24 years after the Twin Towers collapsed. Okay, so we generally ask for people older than 25, right? We remember specifically what we were doing at that moment. So this is a recent event from the past, okay, which was really connected. And yesterday I was at my office, I was working and we were talking about that, okay? Good. Well, we're going to work with film image instant association. And here, I'm going to play, we have a chart with different songs and the films but mixed up. You will have to tell me which of these songs, which are the main song or they belong to the soundtrack of the film, and you will associate them. For example, this one. Good. You know the film? Can you tell me? Rocky 3. Good. The second one. Let's put a blues, an extra. Okay, that one. Do you remember it was an old film from the 90s? Okay. 8 or 9. Just in case you were really paying attention. Okay, 9 weeks and a half. Okay, 9.5 weeks. Okay. Well, this one is of course one. And what about Jack?
Tree.
Okay. Titanic. Good. The next one.
Whoa, my Lord, I've gone, I hunger for your see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
All right. This one? Good Morning Vietnam. Okay. By the way, this song was from the 60s, sung by Louis Armstrong, and it has a revamping. Many films have that power of revamp generally a kind of song which was an old song for a new generation. Okay, and they have acquired a new level, a new meaning, especially in that film. Next one. Oh, nice. I have a choir here, which is incredible. Okay. Lay a whisper on my pillow, leave the winter. Okay, Roxette, which is was another a band from Europe, which really sold that. This is from the film, which is going to have a second part this year, which is Pretty Woman. Okay, and the last one, of course, you know this one.
When there's nothing but a slow blowing dream that your fear seems to hide deep inside your mind. All alone I have cried silent tears full of pride in a world made of steel, made of stone. My eyes feel the wind around the go of my heart.
I left the song because it got stuck, right? Because of that. It was a blues, but okay, now, all right. Well, something I wanted to tell you about well, thank you. You are a wonderful audience. like the singers say. Okay. Well, one of these songs, especially related to films, will flash in our minds and senses just a light, right? To make that unique song memorable. And that is something important. You can also use, sorry, something happened here with the presentation. Okay. And something which is good, something which is good to say is something that we can really take advantage of, especially with the films, is to use the clips and maybe silent and then associate the song together with the different emotions. Okay, good. So sorry, here we come back. Very good. And then we are going into the first time machine riddle. Okay, the first one will be related to the different decades, and we have to select possible activities to select two different songs from each decade, and students will have to listen and to guess which decades they belong to. For example, here we have one. I want you to tell me the decade it belongs to. Right, good. This one, this shout is from the 60s. The artists, Beatles. Apart from that, something that you can also connect that this was the cartoon song from a very famous program, right, from Argentina, right? As I don't have or maybe they are not sponsoring me, I don't say the name and the money in charge of that program. Well, then we have another. I'm going to select this one. This one. I want you ugly, I want you cheap. Good. From the decade 2000s, correct. Right, yes. Lady Gaga from United States. And this one, more recent.
Club isn't the best place to find the lovers, but the bar is where I go. Me and my friends at the table doing shots, kick fast, and then we talk slow.
20. I love technology. Well, okay. Something important about this, as you notice, maybe I didn't select it, for example, Staying Alive, Billie Jean, right? Which was maybe for recent years, but they will have. Sorry, I don't know. What's up, Slash? Well, I'm going to continue, sorry. They will kill me afterwards if not. Well, right. Here, I've got something which is really, for me, it was a matter of investigation. You are constantly investigating. We teachers are when we talk about research, it's so vast, that idea that we can research about, I don't know, how to cook really good pancakes, okay? And you research it, especially nowadays where you have all the aids inside this little machine, right? Good. But this one was really something a little bit special, because I decided to include specific facts about our recent history, and I selected from different sources: politics, sports, science, media, technology, show business, society, medicine, royalty, literature, and also obituary. Why not? Because this is something which happens. Well, and I'm going into some of them, okay? For example, in the 50s, of course, the last one I'm going to have to mention it. FIFA World Cup is held in Brazil, Uruguay wins the title. That happens in the 50s. This is in our collective mind forever, right? That. Then in the 60s, we got something, for first man lands on the moon, something which was also in discussion, right? And then we have first heart transplant operation takes place, something. I discovered many things here, because sometimes you don't know when these facts really happened, right? You don't know when they started, what was the first time. The 70s, for example, Microsoft and Apple are created. The first cable TV, HBO, is introduced, right? Then we have, in the 80s, which is the longest because it's maybe one of them. Okay, you have MTV is launched, right? Which really, you can't imagine nowadays an artist launching a song or to the market without its video clip, right? Simpsons make their debut in the 80s, really, a long time ago. And if you follow the different seasons, you will realize about that. And the 90s, for example, Freddie Mercury and Diana Spencer die. Harry Potter is first published in the 90s, right? Okay. And then we have something from the 2000s. Well, we were talking about the 11th of September. Smartphones, iPhones, iPads, iPods invade the market. And then in the 10th, for example, I don't know, first black and first reality TV show, Presidents in USA. That was something which really but it happens in that decade, okay? Well, of course, there are second chances. Right, good. Then the idea about this is to choose all these elements to start working with them. And this is something that you can also work with together with your students. The students can collaborate. It's not only your research, but theirs as well, in bringing up to the class all the different information they have. And you can select and you can say and discuss, this one belongs to this decade, or let's check, let's do that way, okay? There are specific pages about this. I researched on that. The artists of the songs selected, for example, you can select the songs and talk about the artist, talking about the background, the original one and its legacy as well. And I paid attention, especially in the last 2 decades, more or less, the biopics connections, because there are lots of biopics created nowadays. I selected some of them. For example, an Oliver Stone film from The Doors and Jim Morrison from the 90s. What's Love Got to Do with It? About Tina Turner. Bohemian Rhapsodies, okay, from Freddie Mercury. Rocket Man's Elton John. I Want Somebody Who Loves Me, Whitney Houston. Elvis from Elvis Presley. One Loves, more recently, about Bob Marley. A Complete Unknown from this year, Bob Dylan. Better Man's from Robbie Williams. Back to Black from Amy Winehouse. Deliver Me from Nowhere, a recent film from Bruce Springsteen, and also a future biopic from Michael Jackson coming next year. Okay, so you will have a lot of them, for example, to go through those films, to take some maybe parts, maybe they can watch the films, get maybe immersed in the lifestyle or whatever, and choose different parts of the artist as well, right? And Another important thing is the artists and decades. Connecting artists and decades can be a little bit tricky, it says here, because some of their careers extended through more than one decade. Maybe you don't know them, some of them, the younger ones, but these two artists, Cliff Richard, who is British, and Barbara Streisand, American, have a #1 hit song all along 6 different decades, right? This information doesn't get to Uruguay, but it happens all around the world. Then another important thing, for example, is where these artists, where they were born, if they are American, British, Canadian, Australian, German, etc. This is for the sake of pronunciation practice, different English accents and non-native accent as well. You will see some examples coming. And all the best, for example, I selected this other example, which are connected with the, for example, the ones who have continued selling up to now, examples such as Elvis from the 50s, Beatles from the 60s, ABBA from the 70s, or Michael Jackson from the 80s. Then best-selling albums of all time, such as Michael Jackson's Thriller, Queen's Greatest Hits, ABBA's Gold, Adele's 21. Albums which stayed the longest in the Billboard charts. Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon has really many years on the chart. It didn't flow down, it didn't come down from the different Billboard charts. And then I wanted to pay attention to the last one, the one-hit wonders. Do you know what is a one-hit wonder? So it's an artist which maybe we don't know his procedence, we don't know nothing about him, but they have a bombastic, a kind of, I don't know, smash hit, and you remember that hit and that's all, okay? And I decided to choose this one because it has something important, at least for me, because I remember that. This song from an American group, the Buggles, is called Video Killed the Radio Star. It was a hit at the moment of the beginning of the 80s, and it has a video which was included in the first transmission of MTV Music Television. It was the first video transmitted over there, with that title, apart from that.
I was young, stop you coming through. Make up the great will second symphony. Machine of technology.
Right? Have you ever heard this song? Yes, a long time ago, but maybe it was. Good. Well, then we go into the, after working with the artists and the piece of news from the time machine riddle, we're going into the second time machine riddle, in which we're going to associate the songs with their corresponding decades, the events with their corresponding decades, and the artists as well. And I have all this completed, of course, because we are not, maybe it would have been better to have it with some blanks, and you will have to inquire what is the corresponding blank for that decade, for that event, for that song, the artist, and I included also the nationality, right? I will take 2 examples from here, for example, from the 70s, song which is not very well known. Right. You know that is one of the most playable songs, especially on the 24th of August. And I chose this other one.
No fighting. We got the referee. No fighting. No fighting. Shakira, Shakira. Really know that she can dance like that. She make a man want to speak Spanish. Como se llama? Bonita. Shakira, Shakira.
Oh, baby, when you talk like that, you make a woman go mad. So be wise and keep on beating the sounds of my body.
I love that when you, for example, I tell you continue singing. That we are all laughing. We are all really enjoying the presentation. But what about what you think at the moment? Oh, what comes to your mind? Pay attention to that, because this is something. What were you doing? What happened? Or you can also say, as I mentioned before, I hate this song. And that is also a good practice for your students to talk. If you want to talk, if you want to say, if you want to tell me why you hate it, okay, so, and there is also a plan after that, if you are careful, of course. Remember that when we are dealing with emotions, we have to be careful at any time, okay? But it's impossible with any I think, piece of art, whatever it comes, a picture, a sculpture, rechargeable. The ones who was without batteries was me today, not the microphone. But anyway, don't worry. Well, okay. Anyway, so this is something. Do you know why I chose these two examples? Pay attention. Look at the chart, and tell me why I chose them. Because I love Shakira. No. I played Dancing Queen from ABBA and Hips Don't Lie from Shakira. Yes. And they are non-native speakers, right? That's the most important thing. You have to pay attention to that, because there are many artists which are not British, American, South African, or Australian, or whatever, Canadian, and they don't speak English, but they make an effort to get into the market, right? Because this is important. By the way, ABBA speaks Swedish. The group spoke Swedish, and they are still alive. And Shakira the same, right? The same happened with Ricky Martin or some other artists which enter the Latin market, but with some examples of maybe Spanish, Spanglish songs, or whatever. We will see that. So this chart is something you can vary any of these columns, including all the things you can imagine about them, and you can intertwine them and whatever it is. Then let's go into something about the content, the lyrics. We're not going to say much about it, because we can say that getting through the message, we can go from protest poems, like Blowing in the Wind from Bob Dylan in the 60s, impressive society descriptions like American Pie from Don McLean in the 70s, to the most complicated breakup stories, The Winner Takes It All from ABBA as well. But remember that you have to choose the lyrics according to, maybe you want to practice something specific. You listen that this song maybe use a certain kind of repetition into that maybe part of the language that you want to practice, or whatever, you can use it. And according to the syllables of words, you can build your syllables according to songs if you want, if you like music, of course. And we all know something important, that 85% of the pop and rock songs deal with love in any way. This is something we can't evade, because the artists compose their songs according to that. But there are many other things. And I want to pay attention to the last song, this song from Madonna from the 80s, sorry. This is a very well-known song from the third album of Madonna, True Blue. It contains La Isla Bonita, lots of songs which were really hits over there. And I paid specific attention to this song because when I listened to it, I was 20, more or less, when I listened to it for the first time. Don't start calculate my age, please. And after that, I had one perception of the lyrics of the song, and it's a good song for father and daughter relationship. And if you watch the video clip, it adds a lot of information, extra information to the lyrics, something which is important to work with a video clip if the video clip tells a story, right? Something happened to me that when I listened after many, one decade later, I realized that Madonna says, I'm keeping my baby. Okay. When I listened to it for the first time, I thought she referred to her boyfriend, right? But the topic itself is pregnancy. So you have many subtitles in the lyrics of a song that maybe I know that happened to me, but I also consulted this. Maybe not you because you are more intelligent than me, and you have maybe ¿cómo no te diste cuenta antes? Right. The idea is that you have this kind of things maybe in certain kind of lyrics which are not good. In this case, it's pregnancy, and of course she has a good relationship with her father, but she wants to tell her about that, and that's the problem. And if you watch the video clip, the extended video clip that Madonna made for this song, it has a very good reaction, a very good idea of what is a relationship between, in this case, parents. Okay? Well, this is one aspect of content in the lyrics, but you have many, many, many of them. Good. Let's go into cover versions. I selected this exercise specifically for this in the sake of discussing different things. I like this one, I don't like this one. I would like you to listen, for example, I put some examples, but I wanted to listen to this song. This is the original version of this song.
Why
An American singer, Neil Diamond.
make me forget that I still need her soul. Red, red wine.
What happens here? In such a case, it's a complete different version, a complete different style for the song. And this song in the 80s was very famous, especially for this group, British Jamaican group, right? Good. I decided to take another example from here. This song, this ballad from the 70s.
When I was young, I never needed anyone. And making love was just for fun. Those days are gone.
And the cover version from the 90s of this diva.
When I was young, I never needed
A song which explodes at the end with a very high pitch note of this Canadian singer, right?
just
But it was a very, very different, okay? Good. One last aspect of the cover versions, for example, since the disco era, the loops have always been a part of covering excerpts of famous hits from other artists. This is a very famous one by Madonna in 2006, which is Hang Up, which has an instrumental loop of Gimme, Gimme, Gimme from ABBA.
time goes by So slowly, time goes by. So slowly, time goes by. So slowly, time goes by.
There are many examples of songs which take a part, one part. Of course, in some cases, there is no legal interaction in between. They buy that right, that copyright for that song. Good. Let's go into the last aspect. Downloading info, sound, and image. All this information can be provided, as I said before, or we can simply combine the info you have previously selected for your students to use with the rest of the information they get or they search for online or whatever material they have access to. It can come from different sources. Historical events, charts, hit parades, biographies, images, and videos of any sort, okay? Some risks, and I found many of this, is that maybe the info cannot coincide, okay? There must be some kind of people who maybe, I don't know, download certain kind of songs and the artist doesn't coincide with the song. So I recommend to use the Spotify or official web pages of the artists, okay? Well, here I come to the end with the bonus tracks. Well, maybe I didn't select Uruguayan songs as he said, for example, okay? But I have here, for example, bilingual gems, and I want you to concentrate on this song. You can take advantage of many things, even singing sung in Spanish, right?
Son humanas situaciones, los momentos de los dos, la distancia, las pasiones, encontrar una razón. Hoy, como siempre, estoy pensando en ti. There's human contradiction. Feeling happy, feeling sad.
We have the example of two singers from different nationalities singing their part in corresponding part in Spanish or Italian, because Ramazzotti is Italian and he sings in Spanish and Italian, and then the counterpart of sang that. Well, and then we have some examples here from the Latin market in the 10th position. I have examples, for example, of Volare from the 50s, covered by Gypsy Kings in the 90s, Richie Valens' La Bamba from the 60s, covered by Los Lobos in the 80s. They were #1 hits all around the world. And here we have two more examples. This one, for example. Or this other one. Right one, okay? Good. One of the things that I love acronyms, as you see, and here I've had, according to music, more useful sounds and images for the classroom. This is what we really aim for in working with this, right? I'm going to finish with this song. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you, I lied to you when I said that there will not be images. There are some images here at the end, and we will have this. I will say goodbye with this.
Music was my first love, and it will be my last. Music of the future, and music of the past. To live without my music would be impossible. In this world of troubles, my music brings me through. Music was my first love, and it will be my last. Music of the future, and music of the past, and music of the past. Music of the past.
Music was my first love.
Thank you, Gabriel. Now, Fabiana Farías will be presenting ¿Está sonando? ¿Sí? Hola. Okay. Hello? Hello? ¿Ya fue, no? Now, Fabiana Farías will be presenting Interviewing Evidence, Rethinking How We See, Collect, and Act on Students' Learning. Fabiana Farías is a secondary education teacher who graduated from the Instituto de Profesores Artigas with a specialization in English in 1996. She holds a postgraduate degree in Educational Institution Management from the Universidad Católica del Uruguay. She holds a specialization in active learning methodologies at UCU. She has also trained in educational innovation with Reimage Education Lab. For over 30 years, she has worked on an English teacher in the secondary education, now the Dirección General de Educación Secundaria, as well as in the private sector. She was also professor of didactics and English language at the Instituto de Profesores Artigas. She was part of the first team of Profesores Articuladores Departamentales de Inglés from its creation until 2013. Throughout her career, she was designed and delivered lectures and courses nationally and internationally on topics related to the teaching and learning of English as a foreign language. Fabiana has also been part of Departamento de Educación y TIC of the GS since 2013, being the English referent of the department.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Well, thank you, love you. Okay, guys, I think this is the third time I'm here, and I really wanted to be here. Who has been here the previous 2 times? Raise your hands. I want to see if you have seen. Thank you. Okay, who was here last year? Okay, great. So the idea is this. I'm really honored and I loved being here, but also choosing what to do with you, it was very hard this year. So what did I do? I thought about my first presentation. My first presentation was about reading, right? And everything we can do with reading. But also, I asked someone that day who was interfering with you. Am I right? There was someone changing places and being that person who would misbehave or calling on people's attentions, and that's it. Then the following year, we talked about artificial intelligence and everything we do with technology. And having read in advance everyone who was going to speak today, I decided to do something totally different. So first, because I'm here on behalf of Educación and TIC, I have to say something to honor why I'm here. We talked about that in Spanish, and then we'll switch into English again. Okay? Bien. Importante para todos los que están acá, especialmente los que están estudiando en este momento. ¿Qué les quiero decir? Educación y TIC es un departamento de la DGES en los cuales tenemos muchos programas que, como decía hoy el director, colaboran especialmente con estudiantes que tienen una forma de aprender diferente o contextos para aprender diferentes. Si uno lo mira a la ligera, uno puede pensar al principio que es una toma de pelo, que es una falta de respeto para los que van a clase todos los días y se levantan. Tenemos estudiantes en este país y muchos que por razones de embarazo, por razones psicológicas, psiquiatras o aún con problemas con la ley, pero también tienen derecho a aprender, no pueden salir de la casa. Entonces, para esos estudiantes es que la DGES y en gran parte a través de mi departamento donde yo trabajo, tenemos programas especiales de acompañamiento a esos estudiantes. ¿Y por qué le digo que es importante para ustedes? Porque ustedes son los que pueden estar trabajando, no solo en aulas alternativas en línea, que Milton hoy lo explicaba muy bien, sino tenemos un programa que se llama, que lo quiero leer bien porque es nuevo, Con Voz en Línea. El programa Con Voz en Línea es un programa para estudiantes que por poco tiempo o mucho no van a poder asistir al liceo. Y necesitamos de docentes responsables, comprometidos, que puedan hacer ese trabajo, porque si no los estudiantes se quedan sin clase, no pueden aprender. ¿Qué hacemos nosotros para colaborar con esos docentes? Este año estamos trabajando en una propuesta educativa que se llama Seminar. ¿Alguien de acá ha cursado Seminar? Bueno, Milton, sí, la compañera acá. Seminar es una propuesta nacional, la cual está dividida en 3 etapas. Y ya trabajamos. El año pasado, fin de año. Milton, ¿fue el año pasado, fin de año que lo hiciste? En mayo. Hicimos en mayo y ahora repetimos en agosto y vamos a repetir en octubre. Son 3 charlas independientes que se pueden cursar en cualquier orden y son en línea. Una de esas charlas habla de diseñar un aula en CREA, pero no para tirar PDFs y videos. Diseñar un aula en CREA. Bien, diseñada. El otro módulo se llama Rol del Tutor. Y ahí hablamos y aprendemos cómo debe trabajar un buen tutor en línea. Y la tercera, que puede ser en cualquier orden, pero la tercera se llama Semi-Más English. Y ahí trabajamos con un modelo de una unidad que les puede servir de ejemplo, porque les gusta o no, para poder hacerlo en sus cursos. ¿Cuál es la invitación? Es que se anoten. Anímense a transitar esa formación, que es lo que nos va a habilitar a trabajar con los estudiantes. Además de aulas alternativas en línea y con voz en línea, tenemos otro programa que se llama Egresá 2. Y ahí trabajamos con estudiantes que solo le quedan 2 asignaturas para terminar el liceo. Imagínense el cambio en la vida que le podemos hacer a un estudiante que tiene pendiente 2 asignaturas. Entonces, ahí también les pedimos que acompañen. Ayer y hoy se entregaron horas y se van a estar entregando horas para eso. Y por otro lado, si se animan después que cursaron o si se están en listas para poder elegir en esos grupos, los jueves de noche, entre las 19 y las 21, creo que hay gente por acá que ha estado en esos momentos, todos los jueves de noche, entre las 19 y 21, menos el jueves pasado, que estaba acá, tenemos un 0800 Fabiana, básicamente. Estoy en línea conectada y todo el que necesita ayuda de trabajo en línea se conecta. ¿Cómo vamos a hacerlo? Hay gente que está enterada de eso y otros se están enterando hoy. Le vamos a pasar a inspección y a los pads nuevamente el QR, el link, para que ustedes se puedan conectar a través de Webex. Y no tienen que estar las 2 horas. Digo, el jueves anterior hubo 4 profesores que se conectaban. Se conectan, tienen 2, 3 preguntas puntuales, las contestamos, salen y así va. Puede servir, si está válido, para cualquier otra cosa que ustedes crean que les pueda aportar. ¿Tá? Estoy ahí, a mano, del otro lado de la cámara. ¿Tá? Y eso es de las cosas que quería decirles. En cuanto a lo que hablaba Bárbara hoy, nosotros tenemos un portal a través de EDITIC que se llama Uruguay Educa. Y en el portal Uruguay Educa tenemos alrededor de 14.000 recursos libres para bajar, descargar, criticar, que en Uruguay somos muy buenos criticando, pero yo insisto que la crítica del uruguayo es súper fabulosa, Porque agarramos algo que no nos gusta y lo podemos transformar. Ese es el espíritu del Creative Commons, es agarrar lo que hay, customizarlo y dejarlo como nos sirve. Entonces, si ustedes pueden y quieren recorrer el portal Uruguay Educa, hay muchísimas cosas. Mejores unas, otras viejas, pero todo sirve para poder ser utilizado y es todo creado por uruguayos, por docentes y estudiantes. Creo que con esto me quedo y ahora sí, podemos empezar. Y bueno, entre las cosas que yo les decía que tuve que decidir cuando sabía que venía para acá, y yo le decía a mis compañeras que es muy uruguayo, si se va al balde, que se vaya a la cadena, les voy a pedir que guarden los celulares, ¿tá? Excepto alguna dos que tiene que sacar unas fotos para mi jefe. Vamos a guardar los celulares y vamos a dejarnos llevar. Son 35 minutos. Entréguense. Y ahí vamos. ¿Les parece? Y ya que estamos en el entréguense, apagamos las luces. Nada con segundo sentido. Okay, ready, guys? The idea is this. When I was thinking about what to do again, I started thinking about weaving because, in fact, I started knitting last month. Yeah, and I brought something, not here, anyway, to Rivera. So I started knitting, and then whatever I do, I try to think about education when I do it. So dealing with the yarn, making it grow, I was thinking, okay, that can be education in a way. So, and then I started thinking about evidence, okay? And I want to tell you a story. And with this story that I'm starting telling you, I want you to close your eyes if possible, but no. I'm warning you, in fact. So, what do you think when you think of evidence? Proof, things produced by the students, okay? For many years, the only thing that was valid was the written test, okay? So I believe it's great that for you, that situation is different. Okay, now what I want you to do is to close your eyes and don't say, but think of an elephant. Period. You thought of, now you cannot unthink. So now you have the image of an elephant, right? Don't say anything. Now, open your eyes. That's an interwoven elephant, in a way, okay? So elephants are animals which have a lot of things around, okay? There is mystery, there is strength, there are fables, they are gods, okay? So they are intelligent. So is that what you see? Do you see an elephant there? Yeah, any detail? Who can tell me the difference between this elephant and the one you saw in your mind a minute ago? Gray, tell me. Colorful? That's very good. Okay. So, whenever we think of something, is what we believe, because it comes with our concepts, with our thoughts, with our own experience. We shape our reality. And of course, we shape our fantasies. I don't fantasize with an elephant. Okay? So, now, and if we take this for evidence, now, this is a very simple concept. Do we check the students? Do we check their work? Or do we actually see them? Because that makes a difference. Now, if we are just checking, we're deciding right or wrong. But if we actually see, we pay attention why it is right and why it is wrong. So I want you to take this home with you today. It's not just checking or crossing, okay? Now is the time for coming back to your elephant. Think about your elephant, not the one I planted in your mind. And don't think about the colorful one, okay, which may be hard now that you have seen it. So this is my favorite story, I believe, all. And this morning, we started thinking about culture and cross-culture. And this fable comes from another country. It's an Indian story, which in fact is my favorite. Apart from being a teacher, I admit I'm a principal, okay? And being a principal, every year I read this very same story to my teachers because I want this, like, I don't know, a motto or mantra or whatever. No, the mantra we'll read at the end. Okay, so close your eyes. Now, far away in India, many, many, many years ago, okay, there was a group of 6 very wise, extremely wise, blind men. They were thinking and discussing about the elephants, okay, because they have never seen an elephant. They have just heard the stories of elephants. And then one day they heard that a circus, I don't know a circus in India, but a circus was coming to town. And they heard there was a white elephant. Imagine the power of a white elephant in India. I think it must be great. So, of course, as they were wise, but they could not see, they started thinking and discussing. The first one says, elephants do not exist. It's a myth. They would say something, any other animal, it's an elephant, and we'll have to believe. And the other says, oh, I heard that elephants are tender and sweet because the Raja's daughter, the princess, she rides one. But the other said, no way at all. I know they can turn down trees. I know they can kill people. And the conversation went on and on and on, and it ended up really wrong. They couldn't agree. So they said, what can we do? Let's go and get some evidence, right? So what is that they did? They went to the circus. Open your eyes now. Look at the picture. They went to the circus and they asked for permission to touch the elephant. Voila, they did it. Now they know what an elephant is. But what happened? The first one touched it. And he said, oh my gosh, elephants are like huge fans or blankets. They move the air. Of course, they do. Imagine those ears. They are fun-like, okay? The other one said, no way. Elephants, they are sharp. They hurt. I touched 2 spear-like things. That's what an elephant is. No way, forget about it. Elephants are snakes. They're just like snakes because you know, the trunk looks like a snake, all right? The other one say, you are all wrong. You know nothing about it. They're just like trees, like a log. And they have 4 big logs. That's what an elephant is. The other one said, no way, I touch it, it's high, it's really high and it's tough, like a brick wall. It doesn't really sound like a brick, but it's strong and hard. The last one said, you are all wrong, guys. Really? You know nothing about it. They are playful. You know, I hang from a rope, the tail. I have, and I really can play. I could play. It was so fun. You're absolutely not correct at all. And in the end, if we put all the pieces together, that would be the elephant. Okay? I said, well, what do we do now? So we need help because they understood that they were not right, but they were all sure about their reality. So they went to the Rajas, the only wiser, they believed. And it says, guys, you're all correct. And you're all wrong. Because you'll have a little piece of evidence. The only way in which it could work is if we put it all together. Okay? And I want you to think of this as a metaphor for your teaching. And Valentin was saying something connected to this earlier this morning. okay? I couldn't get his words really, but it was like he had heard the story, okay? That's why I asked for your name. The idea is this, and I need you to think about this twofold. When we have teachers' meetings, guys, this is the best thing that could happen to our system. We have to make them work. It's our responsibility not to waste time. And it's our responsibility to really talk about what's relevant about our students. We have just finished a round of teachers' meetings, okay? And I don't know what happened with your meetings, but I know that some people believe and they feel they are wasting time. And this is the moment in our school year that we are all part of that. We only have a little piece of the truth of the students, just the English part, which may be very different from the other subjects, okay? That's one part. And the other part, if we think in terms of evaluation, we need to collect very many pieces of evidences that could call for the whole of the student. Because if it's just the writing, it will be maybe just the ear. If it's just the speaking, it could be just the legs. Whatever, you name the parts and you name the competence or the skill. So I want you today to go home and think about that elephant every time you see an elephant. And now you're going to work, of course. Okay? The idea is this. Oh, yeah. No. I would like you, be honest. I would like you to work. I know I've been there. We're going to work in groups of 4 or 5, but you're going to give me the answers back. So you have to write them because we tend to speak about different things. Okay? So, what time is it? So I'm going to give you just 6 minutes because if I give you more time, you will be talking about what we're going to do tonight. Okay? Can anyone help him? Because if not, it takes too long. Yes, dear. He's giving the questions. He's passing the questions. So you're going to get together in groups of 4 or 5, read the questions, and write the answers on the back. And then you're going to give me the papers. Okay? Ready? 6 minutes. Okay? Okay? You have 6 minutes to discuss those questions and the answers. Okay, please, 2 minutes to round up. And I'm asking you, please, to write your answers on the back. Oh, interesting. Okay, please. Now, as someone said, let's really address the elephant in the room. Good. Okay, so we have, I think this is a moment to share, and I really appreciate and I really saw you working. Now, if we think in terms of methodology, I believe that the story was probably interesting. Some of you were really hooked. Okay. I believe the questions were also interesting. Some of them more than the others, probably. Okay. And I believe that giving you only 6 minutes, it's a key decision. And think about these for your own lessons. Because we start thinking, why is that the students misbehave? What happened to them? Because if we really give them 20 minutes for something that can be done in 5 or 6, of course they would misbehave. Because they would finish the activity in 3 and then free pass. Okay? So that's important too. Because you really did it fast. And then you were talking about many other things. Okay. I would like the ones that got group 1 to raise your hands. Who has group 1? No one? No groups 1? Oh, at the back. Okay. Did you 2 work together? You 3, great. Can anyone come here and read the question and the answer? Or I'll go there. I'll go there. Don't worry. Okay. So the idea is this. There are many groups, not group 1, which was only 1, in fact. But there are many 2, 3, 4. Only one is going to tell the others what you talked about. Okay? And then we move on. 1 or 2 lines. We don't expect an essay in 6 minutes. The important thing here is the reflection. And the same happens when you're teaching online. Because my decision could have been to read a list of activities, a list of pieces of evidences that you could collect. Whenever you are with the people, do the activities that can only be done if there is more people, okay? And reflection is way better if you are with someone else, okay? So having said that, I would ask you to listen attentively to the different questions and one or two of the reflections they did, okay? Ready to go? Who will talk? Thank you.
Well, in the ways we see, what was?
They don't know the questions. If you can read them.
Okay, sorry. In what ways might we as teachers sometimes be like the blind man, seeing only part of our students' learning? So we wrote this. As teachers, sometimes we do not take we do not take we do not take into account personal aspects of the student. For example, his home, or if he's having trouble at home or with his parents, if he's going through some depressive stage in his life, and even his academic background. But because sometimes he has a teacher who maybe isn't too good for him, or something like that. And sometimes, if you have a large group of students, you cannot focus enough on single individuals. If you have a class with 35, 40 students, you can just stop into one and see what is his problem, or what is he going through. And then, what elephant parts do we usually pay attention to, and which ones do we often ignore? Generally, we pay attention to tests, macro skills, and grammatical structures, but maybe we should do what we said before, earlier, that pay attention in the personal aspects of the students and the academic background, and that will be it, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, that was great. And the idea is this, people, we don't work in isolation. You work as a part of a school. So it's not only your responsibility to know about what's going on with the students' lives. There is an scripto, there is a principal, and there are other teachers. So insist on that. I mean, we are all parts of the system and we all have to do our job. Okay, so thank you so much. Well thought. Who has number 2? And that you know. Anybody else? Okay, 2 there, 2 there. Valentina, you want to read? You have the number. I'm sorry.
Okay, first the question, right?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'm dyslexic, by the way, so if I made a mistake, I'm sorry. Beyond tests and written assignments, what other forms of evidence help you understand your students' progress? What we discussed was that a thing that we could do to understand our students better was by a self-assessment. If we ask students to self-assess them, to assess themselves, they will be critical and they wouldn't be able to lie to themselves. So that would help us have a clear image of them. Also, by making the classroom comfortable and joyful for them, they will feel like they can express themselves and have freedom of speech, making us understand them in a better way and look at them not as simple students or numbers, but instead as people. Should I keep on going or should I? Okay, so I'm gonna read the second question now. How can combining different sources of evidence change the picture we have of a student's abilities? We came up with an analogy. You cannot see a cube by only seeing one square. You need other perspectives. You have to see what other people think. Because if you don't have the whole picture, then you won't be able to have a proper understanding or a proper opinion about something. Just what you see. And your reality is not the only one that exists. So yeah.
Okay. So We won't have time for all of the groups. That's why I ask you to write them down. Because you did write the answers, I will collect them and I will upload your answers in the presentation. Okay? So if you want to add your names, I will publish your names next to the answers. And I will correct all the typos and all the everything. So don't worry. Okay, because I know you're jotting down. So thank you. And then if we have time, you will be able to read your answers and the questions. Now, a little bit of theory or practical things. So when it comes to interweaving evidence, it should be embedded in instruction, okay? It must be a part of your everyday teaching. Plan it, think about it, and decide beforehand the different kinds of pieces of evidence you're going to collect and how. It has to be continuous, ongoing, not a one-time check. I mean, one-time checks are necessary, but keep them periodically. Be directional. It will help teachers to see what the students know and helps the students reflect on their own learning. And when I think about self-assessment, I usually say this in Spanish to my students. No se hace trampa en el solitario. Okay, with that line is that I start talking about self-assessment because you will lose anyway. There is no winning and losing there. Okay, actionable. If we collect the data, I was talking to a group over there that says, if the results are all wrong, we feel bad. We are humans and we don't like the students to have ones or twos because we think it's our own only responsibility. It has to be shared, okay? But if all of them had bad results, something must be changed. And it's not the teacher and not the students, I think it's the practice, okay? And then it's collaboratively. Interdisciplinary exchange of ideas and perspective. And I insist on that. We are part of a teacher's team in the school. Each student has at least 12 teachers every year. We should work together, okay? And then, if we think of evidence and you need to take those decisions, think about using of the 4 different kinds: formal, informal, qualitative, and data-driven, okay? So don't just stick with the formal ones. Go and mix them in different moments of the year. I will send this, okay? And then, I'm not reading this, but this is the list I told you in advance I will share, okay? There are 10 plus, okay? I mean, there are 10 groups, and in the one that has the list, it has 4. So you have like 45 ideas of what to do. And then if you want, I have a classification. You know that some of them may fall into data-driven and formal, depending on how you organize that collection of the evidence, okay? And then this, I want you to leave with this as a mantra. Okay, you know, mantras are things we repeat and things we believe in. Because if we don't do them yet, it would be interesting that we change our practice and start working like that or thinking about this. So we are weavers of evidence, okay, different types. We interpret progress. I mean, if a student does not progress, we are responsible, okay? Maybe it's still not enough. Maybe that the student is not good enough for the system. But if the student has made some progress, we and that student did a lot. So think about learning in terms of progress, not only process. We bring together diverse sources. We collaborate with colleagues to share perspectives. And we should include the students in that process, giving them agency to reflect and to co-construct evidence. So I think I'm on time, perfect timing, right? So I want you to leave with this idea in your heads. And my final question would be, where would you get the evidence from starting Monday? Thank you, guys.
Un controlcito. A ver si funciona. Ah, sí.
Vamos a hacer un sorteo. No, Juan, permiso. Gracias. Gracias. Bueno.
Buenas tardes. Vamos a hacer el primer sorteo de la tarde, así que les pedimos que estén presentes, que se queden, porque si no, no pueden tomar el premio si ganan. Así que les pedimos que se queden y vamos a hacer el primer sorteo de la tarde. Muchas gracias, Fabiana, por la presentación. Un placer. Bueno, vamos a estar sorteando acá el primer premio de la tarde. Bien, así que ahora les pedimos a todos su atención porque acá puede estar el próximo ganador, debe estar el próximo ganador de este premio. Tiene que estar presente porque de lo contrario vamos a volver a sortear. Así que debe estar presente la persona que ha jugado. Vamos a ver cuál es el número ganador. Y el número ganador es el 79. ¿Quién sacó el 79? A ver, a ver. Casi, casi. 79 no. A la una, 79. A, la- a ver. ¡Acá! ¡Muy bien! ¡Felicitaciones! Dice, ahí, muy bien, Facundo. Está. Está. Bueno, pero si creen que esto aún no ha terminado, no, porque tenemos más premios durante la tarde, así que pueden seguir comprando su número. Y mañana,
The big surprise, sponsored by Editores Magro, Grupo Magro Editores. So tomorrow, the big surprise.
muy bien. Bueno, continuamos. Más tarde tenemos más premios también y mañana más. Bien, ahora continuamos con Lorena Cartagena, que la van a presentar, y luego seguimos.
An applause to receive Lorena.
Just a minute, okay? En realidad, le quiero agradecer personalmente a Lorena Cartagena, además de ser una amiga, es una docente muy comprometida. Vino desde el SERP Colonia con sus estudiantes y de eso estábamos hablando hoy, el modelo, el ejemplo. Gracias, Lore.
Lorena Cartagena from the SERP Sureste with its presentation workshop Breaking Barriers, Rethinking, Inclusion and Assessment. Lorena holds a master in education with an emphasis on teaching and learning research, Institute of Education, ORT University in Uruguay. Secondary education teacher in the English area of ANEP CFE, currently pursuing a PhD in education at Universidad de San Andrés in Argentina. She has been awarded the Teacher Exchange Fulbright Uruguay Scholarship and the Carlos Quijano Scholarship in 2024 from MEC Uruguay. She works as a teacher trainer at CFE and NEP and as a foreign language teacher at Sodre Training Schools at MEC. Previously, she worked as a specialist in foreign language at INED, Instituto Nacional de Evaluación Educativa, and as a technical assistant at CODICEN, Departamento de Investigación, Evaluación y Estadística del Consejo Directivo Central. Her main interests are inclusion, attention to the diversity, and the articulation of teaching and assessment strategies. An applause for Lorena. There you go.
Well, thank you for the presentation. A lot of work, a lot of work. And well, I have to say, I'm not a sponsor. I don't have music. I don't have art. This is for tomorrow, for Alejandro. Okay, my way is a bit more theoretical and practical. And well, I'm starting my fieldwork for my PhD thesis today with you. Okay, so the idea is to share this. And well, I think that for music, we have Lanzaro and Bizarrap at in the morning. And well, I have planned introduction, but I change everything. After being here, I changed everything. And in the morning, in the first, we have, and the starting was thank you. And I'm here due to many thank yous. Thank you to be here, por ser y por estar, to many people, and following the legacy that for me, I said thank you. Rosario Estrada, Antonio Stratakis, and Carlos Núñez that told me you can do it. Well, thank you to Inspección de Inglés, Dirección Técnico Profesional. Thank you to Fulbright. Thank you for all the colleagues that are here. And thank you to my students that they follow the crazy teacher that is going, let's go to Rivera. They are first graders and they are starting. And this is the commitment of being a teacher, to being part of a community of teachers. Okay, well, so to start, and this is part of my, as I told you, I'm starting my no, that's there? Okay, well, this is me, that's me, okay. Bueno, let's see. Well, when you, well, okay, social networks, we have a lot of things that was, okay. Well, this is for the book. Well, when you start studying, you are doing your degree as teachers, a master, and then a PhD thesis, you have to make many drafts. And you have to decide, and you have to take many decisions. And well, I finished my second semester, and I'm starting the field work. And after having and taking decisions, I was approved to follow with the field work, in which a very heavy tribunal was there, like Rebecca Nijovic and Alex Rivas. And well, my tutor is Ezequiel Gomez Carides, he's a specialist of inclusion, and Pedro Ravela as a co-director of my thesis. So it is in the University of San Andres, so it is in Spanish. And well, then after finishing, it's going to be translated into English. So I'm going to read something in Spanish, but then, okay, the idea is to continue. So it is Assessment for Inclusion, Beliefs and Attitudes of Secondary School Teachers in Uruguay. And I'm going to read the introduction of the first draft of my study. And it is a student. It is based on a student that I had, Milagros. And the introduction is, profe, pero mire, usted dibújeme la figura de la bandera en la mano y yo después con los colores los identifico con los olores. Por ejemplo, el rojo le pongo vainilla. Así, Milagros me decía cómo hacer para enseñarle las banderas de los países que componen el Reino Unido y explicarle el diseño de la Union Jack. Corría el año 2015 y como docente de inglés, yo hacía un tiempo que venía teniendo interés en plantear propuestas en las clases a fin de atender la diversidad y las necesidades de cada uno de los estudiantes en su proceso de aprendizaje. Y así pude brindarles oportunidades para que cada estudiante tenga éxito. Surge que en un momento llega el director del centro y me dice: este año en el curso de cuarto vas a tener milagros. La estudiante es ciega, quien utiliza su máquina y tiene el perro lazarillo. En primer instante, obviamente, no tenía problemas ninguno y no dimensioné que tal vez los contenidos y las estrategias que utilizaba o podía llevar a reciclar de años anteriores debían tener una mirada y análisis reflexivo. Suelo iniciar los cursos de aspectos culturales de los países angloparlantes y la Union Jack era parte de las clases introductorias, ya con las actividades pensadas, con colores y testeado en cada una en años anteriores, no hace razón para cuestionar por qué no serían viables para empezar el año. Pero al llegar a la clase y entregar las fotocopias, al mirar hacia un lado, veo milagros. Miro mis manos y veo los repartidos que tenía. Esto no lo puedo dar acá. Pensé, bueno, cambio el tema, saco algo de la plataforma de Crea Ceibal o veo, presento algún video, pero ¿cómo iba a ser? Cambio, esto acá no lo puedo dar, o tengo que evitar dar esto. Así fue cuando me acerqué a Milagros, le expliqué la temática y ella fue quien me dijo cómo iniciar un camino de sentir que mis clases son inclusivas y sean realmente inclusivas. Este fue el comienzo de un camino de ida que dudo encuentre destino final. Lo pensé a transitar junto a Milagros, pero después de Milagros llegaron muchos similes milagros, con los cuales construir juntos es parte del camino. Cabe agregar que junto a los estudiantes y con todos los actores involucrados, se suma a esto la continua revisión, reflexión, análisis y formación sobre educación inclusiva. Para familiarizar con esta anécdota biográfica, es un placer decir que de aquel grupo de primer año del bachillerato en el Liceo Departamental de Colonia, Milagros Costabel egresó en el 2019, fue aceptada y becada para estudiar en la Universidad de Harvard y en el momento es parte, y es en el portal digital del diario El Observador, se postea una entrevista en el que anuncia que Milagro tiene un rol en el Alto Comisionado de Derechos Humanos de las Naciones Unidas en América Latina. Y sigue con su perro indio. Okay, so what is inclusion? And that is the issue. What is real inclusion? And maybe after reviewing and studying all the framework and all the materials that you have regarding education, and all the legal framework in Uruguay, because there is a discussion maybe among countries in Latin America in which inclusion is only for people with disabilities. But that's not the inclusion that our legal framework follow. Inclusion is to be equal, is to be all and to address the different needs. So maybe, and that is the definition of UNESCO, maybe we're going to see what is the belief and the approach of inclusion that I follow and I'm going to follow in my study. And this is the first video.
The 2020 Global Education Monitoring Report on Inclusion and Education believes that education is strongest when it embraces diversity. Learners should not have to adapt to the system. Instead, education systems should adapt to their needs. When students do not feel welcome in school, they are less likely to learn. This is everyone's loss. But rich and poor countries too often educate some children apart. Children who have a disability, have been displaced, speak a different language, or are poor and disadvantaged. School design may favor some students over others, as do many laws and policies. Teachers are often ill-equipped to cater for students' diverse needs. Children may not recognize the way they are portrayed in textbooks. Some may not see themselves there at all. They receive the message that they do not belong. Testing sometimes follows a narrow vision of education, and consequently, some students leave education earlier than they should. These are complex problems to solve, but a belief in the right to education is a belief in inclusion. Children have different learning speeds and needs. They need curricula that are flexible, creative, and relevant. How we prepare teachers matters. They must be given the tools and training to achieve our vision for reform. The resources we know can help the marginalized, educators, support staff, and equipment should be shared so that everyone can benefit. Better data on those left behind will help us reach them. Disadvantages often accumulate. We can't address inclusion one group at a time. Redressing these disadvantages requires funds. These must be equitable and target individual-specific needs. We must work together on these tasks across government ministries, from central to local authorities, with civil society supporting governments, and schools opening doors to the community. Inclusion in education requires a change in mindset in society, so that education for all means education for everyone without exception. Achieving this is everybody's business, including yours.
Okay, so it's everybody business. Okay, it's our business. So in the next slide, we have like inclusion and diversity. And sometimes, and I think that they are like synonyms. Inclusion and diversity are like synonyms, they are not. But we're going to see now in the next slide, how can we do? Because in my study, I'm going to say, how are evaluation following an inclusive education approach? And that's an issue. What can we do as teachers to adapt our proposals of evaluation? Evaluation, okay, so Pedro Ravela with Ezequiel Gomez Carides, they are going to be my directors. And well, Pedro Ravela is a reference in evaluation. And well, I should have had a sign language assistant here and also a translation or subtitles in the videos. I couldn't that, I'm in fault. But let's see, because evaluation is an issue, is a really issue, and regarding an inclusive education approach. How to? So let's see and let's summarize the concept in the words of Pedro Ravela. Okay, I couldn't ask him to speak in English. He said no, no. So well, this is going to be in Spanish.
Uno habla de evaluación, enseguida un estudiante, un docente, un papá, enseguida lo primero que va a pensar es en notas, calificaciones. Estamos acostumbrados a que evaluar significa poner nota. Y de hecho los docentes solemos muy a menudo poner calificaciones. Y descuidamos un segundo, o un modo distinto de evaluar, que es la evaluación que solemos llamar formativa. O sea, esta evaluación que califica tiene un sentido que es el de, tú acabas de usar el término certificar, es decir, dar cuenta de si el alumno aprendió o no lo que esperaba, y es un poco lo que se hace al final del proceso. Pero muchas veces descuidamos la evaluación más formativa y continua que es parte del proceso de aprendizaje. Y una imagen que a mí me gusta mucho para ilustrar esta diferencia es la de un atleta olímpico, ¿no? Imagina una chica que hace gimnasia olímpica y que va a los Juegos Olímpicos. Entonces, allí hay un jurado que evalúa su desempeño y que le pone unos puntajes, y en base a esos puntajes se decide quién tiene la medalla de oro, bueno, primero quién va clasificando, después quién tiene medalla de oro, medalla de plata, etc. Ahora, imagínate que el entrenador, ya no el jurado, sino que el entrenador, cuya función es ayudar al atleta a mejorar su desempeño, hiciera lo mismo que el jurado. Es decir, le dice al atleta, ok, haz tu desempeño, y al final, cuando termina, le dice, bueno, 7.5 en sincronización con la música, 8.2 en cómo entraste a la pista, 9.3 en la salida y los distintos aspectos que se tienen en cuenta. Y luego le dice, bueno, ahora hazlo de nuevo. Lo vuelve a hacer y otra vez le dice, bueno, 8 puntos tanto. Entonces, eso es lo que a veces hacemos los docentes. Le damos puntajes a los alumnos a partir de su desempeño, pero no los ayudamos a entender qué es lo que están logrando y qué es lo que no. ¿Qué es lo que hace un buen entrenador de un atleta? ¿Le da puntajes? No, esa es la función del jurado. El entrenador lo que hace es ayudar al atleta a que se dé cuenta de cómo está haciendo las cosas, cómo está pisando, cómo se está moviendo, cómo está logrando ciertos movimientos. Pero si no consigue que el atleta se dé cuenta de qué es lo que está haciendo mal y que él mismo empiece a corregir eso que está haciendo mal, no lo va a poder ayudar a mejorar. Entonces, esta imagen es lo que para mí ilustra muy bien esta doble función. La de certificación, por un lado, que es dar un puntaje en determinado momento al final de un curso, que tiene que ver con aprobar el curso, etcétera. Eso es lo que llamamos evaluación para la certificación. Y esta otra evaluación, que es la propia de un entrenador, de alguien que está tratando de ayudar al estudiante a que se dé cuenta de las dificultades de lo que está haciendo mal, como forma de ayudarlo a mejorar. El problema que tenemos los docentes, y es parte de la dificultad y de la complejidad que tiene nuestra tarea, es que tenemos que cumplir las dos funciones. Mientras que en el ejemplo que yo puse, el jurado son unas personas y el entrenador es otra, en la escuela, en la secundaria, nosotros como docentes nos toca hacer las dos funciones en momentos distintos, la de jurado en ciertos momentos y la de entrenadores en otros. Lo que nosotros hemos visto desde la investigación y que creemos que es un problema es que la calificación y el papel de jurado muchas veces termina matando o imponiéndose por sobre el de entrenador. Los docentes muchas veces, por falta de herramientas para hacer la evaluación de otro modo, damos muchas calificaciones, ponemos notas todo el tiempo, los estudiantes nos reclaman la nota, los papás nos reclaman la nota, entonces todo el sistema empieza a girar en torno a la nota. Para el estudiante lo principal es sacarse una nota aceptable, y la nota entonces empieza a desplazar del centro del escenario al aprendizaje. Entonces, parte de lo que nosotros proponemos en el libro es como ir aprendiendo a desarrollar otras técnicas de evaluación que apunten más a lo formativo, a ese papel de entrenador, y a tratar.
Well, so this is here, and in English we have like evaluation, assessment, summative, formative assessment. So what do we have to do? And we have to do everything. And all the concepts are part of evaluation. So the idea is how to implement. I'm going to, this is like a conceptual definition. An important thing that assessment is guiding the process of learning. Testing, as Ravela was saying, is maybe for an exam, for a particular, with a purpose. And as Rebecca Nichovic states, we have to see who we are evaluating, and what is the purpose of that moment, okay, of that evaluation. And then we have evaluation as the overall concept. Next one. Okay, well, and this is the previous one, sorry. This is from Gabriel Diaz that, okay, is from his book, and it's very clear. When we evaluate, we assign, okay, something in contrast, and when we assess, we gather information and try to spot patterns of a student learning. So assessment is a way of guiding the learning and teaching process, okay? But all of these concepts are part and are in our role as teachers. Okay, the next one, and maybe, okay, well, this is a comparison. I'm going to share the presentation then, and the following one. Okay, and this is the legal framework and the theoretical framework. In the legal framework, we have the Declaration of Salamanca, we have the Ley for Disability in Uruguay, and we also have all the regulations that maybe with changes or not, we have el Marco Curricular Nacional, and well, Inspección de Inglés works a lot, all of you, with assessment, evaluation, and it's very clear, okay, and that is the legal framework that supports evaluation in the sense that I'm saying or stating. The next one, well, there you have REMS and RES with the changes that maybe it may or not may occur, we know. That is what is currently, okay, at the moment. And I'm going to point out my study is going to be with the process evaluación diagnóstica, evaluaciones semestrales. So my study is going to be based on that, on testing, okay? That is clear? So now I would like to see, because my study is the beliefs and attitudes towards inclusion and how these beliefs and attitudes adapt or maybe influence the designment or the evaluation process. Okay, so that is the first case study that, okay, in a multicultural classroom, okay, a teacher, can you see it? Yes. A teacher sees that maybe a student is not so comfortable, okay, with the topic. So maybe with people near to you, there you have a Padlet, okay, QR, and maybe you can state your idea, okay, and we like to share how can we adapt that prueba semestral or that exam or whatever, okay, and to get your ideas, yes? Then I'm going to share some of my experience, but at least I'm just, okay, having resources for my study. Okay, 5 minutes, not more, and then maybe if you want to share it orally, thank you. Okay, let's work. Yeah, you know? Yeah. Let's see. Well, and if you follow this classroom or this room with more questions than answers, that is the work. That is a good work to continue reflecting, okay? Reflecting, assessing our practices, okay? Trying to see more, to learn more things. Does it work, the Padlet? Yes. Does it work, the Padlet? Yes? Okay. Well, I have some ideas. Sorry that I'm like in a rush, but well, I have two more cases. So do you want the one who posted, do you want to share it orally? No? Nobody? Okay. Well, so let's go on with the next slide, and I'm going to share at least what I did in my experience. Maybe for next time you can. Okay, yes, the next one. And maybe in the next one. The next one. Okay. Well, so this is what I have done in my experience as a teacher, in that way in which we have students from Cuba, from Venezuela. I think that nowadays, it didn't happen in Uruguay, but I think that from a decade, okay, we have. So if we are talking about culture, if we are talking about cuisine, and we are talking about festivals, okay, let's give students the chance to select which is the festival, which is the typical festival for them. Why all of us talking about chivito? Maybe it's not. Maybe we have to learn and we have to do, or maybe we can do something regarding arepas, regarding paella. I don't know. But that is being inclusive regarding culture. Also regarding celebrations. And that is, and my students know, and maybe I'm not, and if you want to say something regarding celebrations and regarding, for example, New Year, Christmas, and Halloween. I have students that due to religions, okay, they believe that Halloween is a pagan festival or celebration. So I do not foster to celebrate Halloween in my class. I present Halloween. I have to say my last, okay, lesson for the practice was about Halloween. But we have to be very careful how we present that. So, well, my students know, okay, at least at the public system, because I have, and maybe a friend, and say, no, tomorrow she's not going to high school. And why not? No, porque van a celebrar Halloween. Y vos ya sabés que nosotros Halloween, no, entonces mañana no va. Okay, well, and that's why I can say that, okay? That is, and maybe reflect, discuss, and maybe, okay? But this is like the most clear example, and there are another. And for example, another comment that my boy, my little boy, that is not a little boy nowadays, he told me when he was in the first year at primary school, and regarding family. And nowadays, we have to talk about the concept of family. And he told me, with 6, 7 years old, mamá, ¿sabías que fulano tiene 2 mamás? ¿Puedo ir a la casa a jugar? It's right. And I was dealing with family, and I was a teacher, and I was showing the model of father, mother. And my son had it so clear. He had it so clear. And I said, oh my God. Oh my God, what am I doing? This was a decade ago. Now he's turning 15. So, okay, well, so this is my experience. Maybe you can post other ideas. And this is part of inclusion, okay, based on the approach and on the concept of inclusion that I was sharing before. So let's go to case number 2. but I think with diverse learning needs, okay? So the idea was that we see that in our classroom, we see and we perceive that we have a student with diverse learning needs, okay? So what can we do to adapt the testing? What can we do to adapt the prueba semestral, okay? And the example that I have, or maybe you can post the idea that is in the QR. Está en unas presentaciones antes, que hay otro QR. Dice case 2. Ahí. Maybe you can post that and maybe I can compile your ideas, okay? It is a classroom with diverse learning needs. Maybe as Milagros or as a student with Asperger or a student that needs more time when learning, when reading, or with syndrome of Tourette or something like that. And maybe it can be in our classroom tomorrow. So what can we do? Yeah? If you have an idea, I'm making a compilation of teachers' beliefs and maybe making you think a lot. And maybe we can have a student with syndrome of Down. Ahora vamos a la que tiene un circo, tiene una presentación de un circo. Perdona, pero... Tiene un dibujo como de un circo. Y después vamos al caso 3. Está más abajo. Sí, ahí va. Está en la PPT. Ah.
Estoy enseñando con un directo.
Ah, está bien. Sí. Okay, yeah, thanks. Okay, do you want to share an idea? No? Well, you have the Padlet and I'm going to get all of your ideas, yes? Okay, this is an example of a midterm from Gabriela Arias that is going to be tomorrow. She's not here because the idea was her sharing, but it was regarding a circus and to present a circus. And if you read the presentation, the students could decide in which format they can do that. And I have also, because she shared the presentation and there were TikToks, there were Canvas presentation, there were just podcasts. Okay, so give them diverse learning needs. So give our students ways to decide, or maybe regarding a topic, okay, a specific, that is, okay, the proposal with a written part, okay, but then in order to show what they have learned, students could decide how to do that. Okay, and that was part of the midterm. That is, maybe tomorrow she's going to be here in the morning. She can share and explain where, okay, the situation. Well, I have 5 cases. I'm going to share the presentation, and I only have 10 minutes. As you know, I said in advance that it was maybe a little boring or maybe more theoretical. And well, it was the first, okay, I'm starting my study today and with your ideas. So please keep the Padlet and post your ideas. And we're going to finish at least with the last video that I think, and the bibliography says, that beliefs and attitudes are bigger than maybe content and all we can study. What do we believe and how we act, that makes the difference, and we have to, and that makes what we can adapt, and okay, and we'll want the success of our students. So let's finish, and thank you, and well, that is, let's keep in contact. I'm going to contact all of you. I'm going to do it in all disciplines, and then, well, I have to do a lot, and well, maybe I'm going to invite you to be part of my study and to continue. And this is a process of 4 years, and I finished the first one. So, well, okay, the last video, and thank you.
You're okay with everything that we mentioned. Sorry for that. And listen, I just really want to thank you so much for coming on such short notice, Anthony.
Listen, don't worry about it. So when is the article actually going to print?
Well, hopefully by next month. See, it has to be given the okay by our editor and all that, so it can take a bit of time.
Okay. So, do you want to get started?
Yeah, yes, of course. Sorry. Okay, yeah. So, as an artist with dyslexia, it's obvious from looking at your work that having dyslexia has influenced it quite a bit. So, I suppose, can you give us a bit of background to your life? Did you ever struggle growing up with dyslexia?
It's a good question. I suppose my first exposure to art was like in a sort of very challenging time in my life in primary school.
Anthony, this is your 3rd time now. Why haven't you practiced this for your homework?
I did practice it, teacher.
You can sit down now, Anthony. All right, class, is everyone listening? I want you all to get started on your colouring activity. Pick out your favourite part of the book, and I want you to do a drawing of it. Use lots of colours just like we practiced, okay? I'm just going to be down the hall. I don't want to hear a sound out of anybody. Anthony, can you come here for a moment? Okay, sweetheart, will you go and get your reading book and your drawing pad? We're just going to go to Miss Stunt's.
Hey, Mary. Hi, Brenda. Okay. This is Anthony's. Yeah, okay. He said it to me earlier.
That's
honestly.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll come in here and we'll have a look and we'll spend a bit of time. Yeah, so it'd be great. Anthony, do you want to come in?
Okay.
Boy. That's great, and we'll see how we get on.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Now, Anthony, will you sit up there for me, good boy?
This is the book you were reading with Miss Kavanagh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how about we try reading a few pages?
Yep.
Okay? Okay. So we start here. Can you send that out for me?
Is an
Okay. You can stop there. You find this book difficult, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, how about we come back to this one in a couple of weeks? And maybe by then you'll be an expert, won't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, how about you come up here?
It's me, teacher.
What do you got there?
Okay. Anthony, I want you to listen to me, okay? Now, you're a very special boy. You have something a lot of the other kids don't. So, here's what we're going to do.
Miss Kavanagh.
Anthony would like to read his book out loud for the whole class, if that's all right.
Yes, of course. Okay, class, take out your novels. We'll follow along.
Are you ready?
This book is about a dragon called Sam. Sam lives in the forest. He has big teeth and a long tail and lots of colors on his back. And he's also the tallest dragon in the forest. One day he was looking for water. He tried looking under big rocks and in the forest, but he couldn't find any. The next day, he came back and he found a long stream of water and he started to drink from it.
Problem was, I understood everything about that book. I even remember details other kids missed. It was just all kept trapped up in my head. There's no way of communicating it. But it was at that exact moment that I realized I wasn't that odd, empty-headed child I thought I was. You know, with a little help, I could just bend the rules. I could prove to the teacher that I wasn't the useless child she thought I was. Then I knew anything is possible.
Well, as it says, to finish and reflect, this was a teacher that believed and act. So let's try. I invite you to find. There is no unique form. There is no unique way, and there is no recipe. Maybe we have to find it. And we are all different and we are all unique. But let's try to make the difference. Okay, and thank you.
Solo si me hay que dejar todo acá. Ah. 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 Mira, ya está. Listo. Hi everyone again. Hello. Bueno, tenemos más premios para entregar, así que ¿tienen sus numeritos ahí? ¿Quiénes tienen sus numeritos? A ver, pocas manos. Bueno, vamos a entregar los numeritos. ¿Tá? Vamos a entregar 2 premios ahora. Así que tenemos doble chance. Si no es a la primera, es a la segunda. ¿Tá? Este es el segundo premio. ¿Tá? Vamos a ver con nuestra estudiante Camila quién será el ganador. Recuerden que tiene que estar en el salón para poder recibir el premio. ¿Tá? Sí. Esto acá, sí, de una colega que tiene un emprendimiento que se llama Cutie Pie. Lo pueden seguir en Instagram. Un aplauso grande. Bien, preciosas creaciones. Sí.
Luego,
Sí. Flavia Pereira. Sí. No sé dónde está Flavia. Ahí, Flavia. Muchas gracias. Bien, Camila. Ahora sí.
73.
73. 1, 2, 3. No. Okay, let's continue, Camila.
3.
Woo! Number 3. Congratulations. But this hasn't ended. Bueno, muy bien. Ahora.
'98. ¿Para qué voy a...?
¿Eh? Ah. ¿Cuál número? Ay, no. Hay más para mañana igual. No, hay más para mañana igual. Sí, sí, sí. So, all right. Well, now Richard is going to explain to you how we are going to continue. Please remember that tomorrow we are going to start at 8:30. So, yes. Yes.
So, we haven't finished yet.
Yes, we haven't. We and yes. So Richard.
Okay, so hello everybody again. My name is Richard. Muchas felicidades a todos los ganadores. No estoy muy feliz yo, pero bueno. Ok, ahora voy a explicar cómo vamos a proseguir con este seminario. Van a empezar las concurrent sessions. ¿Qué es eso? Se estarán preguntando. Son cuando vamos a tener dos presentaciones al mismo tiempo en diferentes salones. Entonces, el público, esperemos que se divida mitad y mitad para que ninguno quede sin público, obviamente. No es bonito. Entonces vamos a tener la presentación de, ya les digo, de Virginia Frada y... Virginia Frade, so sorry. Virginia Frade. Y... Where's the other man? Sí, no están los nombres acá. We don't have the names. Pero falta...
Here. Magister Virginia Flaven, Magister Eugenia Balseiro. Okay?
With the topic Linguistics, Landscapes in Uruguay, a binational study across border and urban context. And then in la room number 3, sorry, en el salón número 3 vamos a tener a las CTAs, Francis Schaeffer Coffey y Julia Ant, con el topic What the US can learn from Uruguay. Tech Integration in the Classroom. Eso va a estar en el salón número 3, que es el segundo piso. Entonces, los invito a poder compartir también la presentación con las compañeras allá arriba y que la gran mayoría o la mitad también nos quedemos por acá. ¿Ok? Así que vamos a pasar de esa manera. Los invito, obviamente, a elegir la presentación que a ustedes más les interese y que más les guste. ¿Ok? Muchísimas gracias.
Yeah, colleague was studying back tomorrow. We are studying again. No, but no, I want to buy some around that shape. Right? But I tomorrow we are the box, the tickets. No, the money, the tickets we are going to change because these were for today. Tomorrow we will see.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Now our student Matías is going to introduce Virginia Frade and Eugenia Balseiro.
Hello, everyone. So this presentation is going to be by Virginia Frade. She's a professor in the Masters in Learning Environment Design at the Technology University of Uruguay, UTEC. She also teaches in the postgrad diploma in English language, teaching at ORT University, Uruguay. Frade is tenured professor of Linguistics and Literature at Consejo de Formación en Educación, CFE. She holds a bachelor's degree in literature, UDELAR, a bachelor's degree in teaching English as a foreign language in IPA, and a master in human science, language, culture, and society in UDELAR. She is currently working on her doctoral dissertation in linguistics. In addition, she co-directs the academical journal Tense Diagonal. She has been part of various research groups and has carried out extensive studies on the teaching of English in Uruguayan public primary schools. Her master's thesis focused on interaction in Ceibal in English classes, and for her doctoral thesis, she has researched English as a foreign language teaching in Uruguayan rural schools, where language instruction is mediated by technology. She has published numerous academic articles and book chapters of language and literature, as well as some on English teaching, and co-authored a book on language, teaching, and gender. After we have Eugenia Balseiro, is an English teacher on IPA and holds a diploma in educational psychology. In 2019, she completed her master in digital technologies for language teaching and learning at the University of Nottingham in 2023. She earned a diploma in critical pedagogies, for English language teaching at the Metropolitan University of Educational Science in Chile. She is currently a professor in the language program at UTEC and also teaches in the Master in Learning Environment Design at the same university. So here we go.
Bueno, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the introduction. Today, our presentation, we're going to present also on behalf of Rosana Mantaras. She's also part of the research team, but she couldn't be here. So our presentation is called Linguistic Landscapes in Uruguay, a binational study across border and touristic context. And even though we are going to share basically the preliminary results of our research, this research is based on a pedagogical design that we would love to share with you, so as to show you how we worked with this topic or through this topic in an EFL context. No, good. Good. So This is what we are going to cover in the presentation. We are going to contextualize our research, which is a collaboration between UTech and Dikla University from Turkey. We are going to connect our presentation with the seminar of last year, because last year with Virginia as well, we sort of introduced the research here. And we're going to go over the aim of the research. We're going to share the comparative case studies design, because one design was done here in Rivera and the other design was done in Maldonado with Virginia. We're going to share also the preliminary results and some joint preliminary conclusions. Okay. Good. So as I was saying before, this is part of a research project that was carried out between two universities. And it's also part of the one research group that we have at UTech University that is called Aprendizaje y Sociedad. So basically the aim was to see how linguistic landscapes, that then we're going to work on briefly on the definition, can be used as a pedagogical tool to teach a foreign language, any foreign language. And then another aim was also to see how linguistic landscapes can raise students' awareness on language coexistence, inclusion, exclusion, and multilingual practices in a given area. Okay, so it was not only to teach the language, but also to learn about how languages coexist. And that's it. I have already said. Good.
Well, last year, we presented the theoretical framework, but we decided to, as maybe not all of you were present last year, and maybe you don't remember what we presented last year, so we decided to bring some definition of what what we mean by linguistic landscapes. So linguistic landscapes are a field of study that focuses on the analysis of language as it appears in public spaces. The concept introduced by Landry and Borges refers to the visibility and presence of languages in public signs, advertisements, street names, graffitis, and any other type of text found in the urban environment. Basically, the main components of the linguistic landscape are commercial advertisements, as I just mentioned. For example, posters, billboards, shops, windows, storefronts, public signage, like street names, traffic signs, government building signs, and spontaneous written text such as graffiti, stickers, or murals, right? So we believe that these texts not only communicate like practical information for the people who live in that place in the city, but also convey symbolic messages about status, power, and social relationships within a community. So, regarding the design, the overall research design, we thought, sorry? Cannot understand. Where? Okay. So it is a qualitative approach. It is a comparative case study design, right? Because we compared what Eugenia did here in Rivera and what I did in Maldonado. Students are seen as researchers in their own community, and we will see why. Then regarding the corpus that we collected has to do with photographic evidence that our students collected from their cities. And well, they used digital tools to collect the corpus. And in order to analyze the corpus, they used a taxonomy that is present in this web page that that is known as Linkscape, that then we are going to share the link. There that you have a taxonomy to analyze the different signs, the different photographs. And well, we focused on a pedagogical on the main, one of the main aims was the pedagogical purpose. So to raise social linguistic awareness, and for students or teachers to be able to design EFL lessons with the with Realia, with the photographs that they collected from their own cities. That was basically the overall research design. No, Rivera. Which one? What are you talking about? Eh? Okay. So would you like to start with Rivera? Okay.
So this is more or less the research design that we used in Rivera and in Maldonado. The focus was basically the same, to see how we teachers could use linguistic landscapes to teach the language and to teach about the language. In the case of Rivera, the design, the pedagogical module unit lasted 5 weeks. It was carried out here at UTEC with students of mine from A1, A2 level. They were approximately 16 students. And the focus was to explore the landscape, the linguistic landscape of Rivera, the border, and Santana, okay? So in order to gather information for the research or data for the research, we used students' journals. So students were writing journals and reflecting along the process that then we analyzed. I wrote my own teacher's journal, like taking notes on what was happening in the classrooms or things that caught my attention, which I then analyzed. And final interview with some students, and also final products, because at the end of the design here in Rivera, they have to intervene the area, creating their own linguistic landscapes.
Well, regarding Maldonado's research, it lasted 6 weeks. The participants were English teacher trainees at CERP del Este, that some of them are here. Their level of English is advanced. They were, last year, they were in their 3rd year, right? 14 students participated, and the focus was to analyze or to see the presence of English in the linguistic landscape in Maldonado, which is a very well-known Uruguayan touristic city. Well, how I collected the data and the instruments that I used for the analysis. Well, basically students' lesson plans that we will see that they created, their final reflections, final interviews, some of them were interviewed, and my journal.
Good. Hola? Yes, okay, sorry. So something to point out, I think, about this research is that for you to do research in your English class, you don't need to, you can use your own students' materials, or you can use like instruments that are friendly to an English class, like, or an English teacher, or any sort of teacher. But you'll see that we used students' productions, our journals, their journals, which were part of the evaluation as well. So they were like very friendly instruments to any teacher to be used. So in my case, I wanted to explore, the objectives of the module was to explore the concept of linguistic landscape with my students, to reflect on visibility, inclusion or exclusion. We were curious about which language prevailed in the area. Was it Spanish? Was it Portuguese? Was it Portuñol? Was it English? Like what was like, who was taking over the linguistic landscape of Rivera? or sorry, not who, but which language. And then to analyze how linguistic landscape reflect linguistic hierarchy, social status, and so on and so forth of the language. And at the end, we wanted to design a linguistic landscape inclusive of linguistic communities, like linguistic communities my students felt were being left aside through the linguistic landscapes in Rivera, like the way they were at present. So basically the structure was like this. Our structure is very similar. First of all, students took pictures and explored the linguistic landscapes of Rivera. We used an application that is called Linkscape, which is free. So basically you just take the pictures, you upload the pictures to Linkscape, and then you tag the different photographs based on the taxonomy that Virginia was mentioning before. Of course, that before we worked on the taxonomy. I brought linguistic landscapes from Tacuarembó, where I live, like to analyze with my students, just to see how the process should be done. So after they individually took pictures, I asked them to take 10 pictures per student and to upload it to Landscape. Then something good about this application is that you can export an Excel with all the information, all the pictures, all the tags students used. So it's very easy to be used in class for students to be researchers. So then I brought that Excel sheet. We analyzed the information there. We created research questions, okay? Like they created their own research questions. And then I directed them to be able to ask those questions to the data. Like what do you need to filter? What do you need to leave out to understand how languages coexist in the area to answer the questions they had. And after that, we basically, reflected on the whole activity, and they have to create like this intervention of linguistic landscapes into Rivera, Uruguay, Santana, whichever place they wanted. No. So this is like some of the linguistic landscapes they took, and this is the Excel sheet I was telling you about. It's very friendly as well because you can have like all the pictures linked, and these are like some of the taxonomies that they used. So students, after labeling the pictures in the application, then did a second round of coding together in the class, and we used this Excel sheet, which is like also open for you if you want to use it with your students. We can share the link as well. Good. So what we have so far in this analysis result is like a comparison between initial perceptions and final conclusions. Okay, so when I talked to students at the very beginning of the research to ask them how they thought the landscape was going to be organized, some of them told me signs were going to need to be in English, in Spanish. Some of them said that signs were mostly bilingual here in the area. Some of them said there were going to be a combination of the three languages in the same sign. One mentioned that the closer to the borderline, the more variety of languages he thought he was going to find. And there was no measure to other languages or to the regional dialect, okay? Now, after we conducted the research, we found out that actually the language that predominates in Rivera is Spanish, then English, and there is a minority of Portuguese in the linguistic landscapes, which was an actual shock for our students. I don't know if it's a shock for you as well. For me, it was a shock because we expected much more Portuguese in the linguistic science. Regarding the border, even though we took like 2 or 3 pictures, not more, because that's the sample was like totally directed by students. I did not direct them to take pictures here or there. Most of the signs were in Portuguese. There were some unexpected languages in the linguistic science, for example, French and Italian, that we didn't expect. And there was no Portuñol written on the signs, okay? Now, apart from this awareness on the languages that coexist in the area, some students mentioned there was like a shift in perspective, like now they could read or analyze the signs in a more critical way or in a different way, or that they were aware of the information that they could see as they walk along the signs. Some of them mentioned language hierarchies. For example, they said that English was more sophisticated or more aesthetic, or it was used like to give an idea of modernity in the language sign. The same with Spanish and French. And they said that that was different with Portuñol because it was not for them a dialect of sophistication. Okay. Then some of them associated the Italian presence with cuisine and the French presence with cosmetics in the signs. And some of them criticized how Rivera did not include actually, like being at such a multicultural place, the linguistic landscape they could find were not inclusive of this variety. And there was a reflection of how language can be used as a filter, either to include or exclude or include, represent or not represent linguistic communities.
Well, regarding the pedagogical design that I applied in Maldonado, well, the first thing that I should say is that I teach linguistics. There are two courses. In third year, the course focuses on sociolinguistics. So I thought that I could include linguistic landscapes as a topic in the syllabus, and that was the first thing that I did, to analyze the syllabus to what I was teaching. And there is a moment when I have to work with bilingualism, diglossia, code switching, Spanglish, types of bilingualism. And it was then after that topic that I decided to include linguistic landscapes, right? It was a decision that I made. And then I had to, what I did was to include like a note at the end of the syllabus explaining why I had made that decision, right? Which is there, right? The inclusion of the study of linguistic landscapes in the syllabus will focus on the practical application of sociolinguistic theory. This will enable students to analyze how language is used in public spaces to convey identity, power, and cultural values, because language and power is another topic that we teach. The project will involve examining signage, advertisements, and other written text in a specific area, fostering an understanding of how language interacts with social and cultural contexts in real-world settings. This hands-on approach will deepen students' insight into the dynamic relationships between language and society, enhancing their analytical skills and sociolinguistic awareness. So I had to think why I decided to do that, right? To include this topic, right? So the first thing that I did was to tell them that we were going to study linguistic landscapes. Then I told them the learning objectives were going to be, so they had 10 minutes. No, it can't be. Okay, so identify and analyze linguistic landscapes. In the first thing that they were going to do was to identify and analyze linguistic landscapes in their local environment, then to reflect on how public signage represents cultural and linguistic identities, then to discuss findings with their peers to broaden perspectives on linguistic diversity, and then they had to use the collected images to create EFL lessons. So I divided the design in 7 steps. The first thing, I introduced the theory. I asked them to watch a video where Osman, the professor from the Turkish university, presents like all the theory. He gives a speech. Well, I asked them to watch that video and to read some materials that he shared with us. And I asked them these questions. These were like the questions to guide their reading and the while watching activity. After working with the theory and having discussed that, I asked them the same thing, asked them to do the same thing that Euge did, that is to go to their cities, to their neighborhoods, and to take photos of official and unofficial signs. They could be in English or in English and Spanish, both languages mixed, right? Then they had to upload the photos and to analyze them. We used the same taxonomy that Eugenia mentioned, but what they did was to create a Google Doc. This is something that they created. Well, here they uploaded all the pictures and they analyzed them according to the taxonomy introduced. After that, they had to share the photos with their classmates and to describe them and to analyze them. We started like to analyze the cultural or social elements that appeared in the pictures, which was the intended audience, and why those languages were chosen and not those if both languages were used and not just Spanish, right? Okay. So after doing that, after all the analysis, I asked them to create EFL lessons, thinking in a group, maybe the groups that they were doing their practicum. So the first thing that they did was to use the collected images to create a lesson. They had all the instructions perfectly like detailed. They had to define 2 or 3 learning objectives. They had to plan activities, specify practiced skills, and to conclude with a lesson summary. And after that, when they finished that activity, they also had to do a reflection of all the process. And they had to answer in their reflection, they had to answer these questions. How does the linguistic landscape you observed reflect the cultural or linguistic dynamics in your community? Did anything surprise you or challenge your assumptions about language use in public spaces? How might the linguistic landscape affect how people perceive and interact within the community? Well, that was all those were all the parts of the design. Regarding the sources, well, here I included some of the pictures that they took. Well, I already showed you the chart, and this is an example of part of a lesson plan that they created. Regarding the results, the preliminary results, well, I found out that there was like very strong pedagogical value, right? They perceived linguistic landscapes as a powerful tool, right? For their own practicum, but also to include them in their own lessons, because they realized that they could do exactly the same thing with their own students, right? So their students in high school or in primary schools could see that English, which is seen as a foreign language, is not so foreign, right? Because it surrounds us. It's in our environment, right? In our linguistic landscape. And so how to get realia from their own context. Something that what happened, which differs from what Eugenia found out, was that the taxonomy was not so relevant for them. But they realized that when they did the presentation of the different pictures, etc., they realized that they could group them according to different themes that then they could use in the different thematic units that they had to teach. For example, at the airport, entertainment, I don't know, at a restaurant, going to the shopping mall, etc. Right? I'm just saying what comes to my mind, but there were some. They identified thematic units, and they created their own lessons with their own visual material. Right? Well, and they also realized issues of language and power, how language and power are connected, right? And and they questioned, for example, why one language was used in one context and not in another one. They realized that English was mostly present with when something was being sold or in comercio, in shops, and connected with economy, right? Connected with economy. And they also realized how to see power dynamics in a city or in the city where they live through linguistic landscapes and the places where they were found, right? Some houses, you know that in Maldonado and in Punta del Este, houses are named, they have names, but depending on the neighborhood, the language used, right? So they asked themselves, well, what happens if we go to another neighborhood, to a middle class or a working class neighborhood? Do we find the same linguistic landscape? Do we have the same words in the shops? Do we find the same linguistic landscape, or it changes? And then there was a student who realized that, for example, in a shop, it said 60% sale, but then the name of the store was in Spanish. And he said, what happens if I enter the store and will I find English in the store or not? Is it just because to use it is catchy? I mean, so they started to ask many questions. And something else that they realized is that everybody likes using the genitive and nobody knows how to use it. So a hairdresser is like Maria Angel's hairdresser, or Maria Angel hairdressers, or things like that. So they focused on the grammatical errors that appear when people use English just because of the sake of using it, because it sounds like, or it looks like, attractive. Okay. Well, regarding the preliminary findings, to close our presentation, sorry? Dale. Yeah. Okay. Me or you?
Yeah, okay, good. So basically, like the final takeaways, linguistic landscapes are a great tool to connect language pedagogy to the local context and the local ecologies of the area where students live, and also to raise awareness and how language and power are associated and how language can include people in a given community. Okay, so the next. Or do you want to add anything else?
Okay, there you have like our findings. Yeah. And here we have the resources. to share.
Yes, maybe the next with the emails, just in case. So these are our emails. We are more than happy to share all the resources that we used, to share the PowerPoint we used to teach how to use Linkscape, to share the Excel, the photo banks of both areas, to help you if you want to do research with your own students regarding this topic. So you just email us and we are more than happy to share what we have used and found with you. Okay? Thank you.
La foto.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Now we have arrived to our last presentation of the day. Now our student Matias will present Miguel Martinez and Verónica González. And please, reminding you all that tomorrow at 8:15, we are going to start our second day at the seminar.
Hello. So first we have Verónica González. Is a highly experienced English language educator with over 30 years of expertise in preparing students for Cambridge exams, including CPE, I'm sorry, TKT, IALTS, and AGCSES. A certified Cambridge speaking examiner since 2013, she has dedicated her career to fostering academic excellence through innovative teaching methodologies. Beyond her extensive background in language instruction, Veronica is deeply committed to integrating AI tools into education, giving both teachers and students in leveraging technology to enhance learning outcomes. She also played a pivotal role in project-based learning, curriculum development, and college application ESI guidance. Her contributions extend to international educational initiatives, serving as an education country ambassador for the Rise Up for Peace project under the United Nations, where she advocates for integrating CDG 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions into school curricula. As a sought-after speaker and workshop leader, Veronica regularly shares her insights on AI in education, assessment strategies, and innovative teaching practice at global conference and teacher training events. After we have Miguel Martinez, has over 10 years of experience as an English as a foreign language teacher, specializing in preparing students for Cambridge International Exams, PET and EFC. He holds certifications in Cambridge Proficiency in English, Teaching Knowledge Test, and TEFL, demonstrating his strong academic background and teaching expertise. In recent years, he has integrated AI tools into the classroom, allowing him to personalize and optimize the learning process for his students. He is currently in his third year of the English teaching program at CERP del Norte, continuing his professional development. So here we go.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Excited to be here. Oops.
Yeah, we're just fixing the audio. Do we have anybody in the room that can help us with the sound?
I was going to call Adriano.
Yeah, thank you.
Adriano, is Adriano here? Oh. What will you use your computer? Okay. Okay. Got another person. Adriana is on the way.
Okay, thanks.
It's always one cable.
This is
And thank you, Adriano. Thank you for coming all the way.
Just to create some tension, so you
Yeah, just to give you an edge.
exactly.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Hello, my name is the principal here.
My name is Lisa. Hello, I'm Anna.
My name is Mateus. I really think that this idea of two different countries sharing a language is perfect, but we can find some problems, such as the difference in pronunciation, the vocabulary.
I would say that the most challenging thing that I noticed was how strong their accent was and how fast they spoke.
What I find most difficult in understanding the Uruguayan accent when speaking English is their speed. They talk too fast for me to understand a thing.
You know, if I had to say something that I don't really like about the Brazilian accent is that they usually roll their sentences on kind of a musical way. One of the things that I find it difficult to understand it's their accent when talking to them.
When I talk in English with Brazilians, what normally happens is that they do pronounce words differently, but they also talk much faster.
I usually find it a bit difficult to understand the Uruguayans when they speak English because of their speed and pronunciation. Words with the letter R sound very difficult.
What I find really difficult about communicating with Uruguayans is their accent, because for us Brazilians, it's really difficult to understand what they're trying to communicate sometimes.
From the standpoint of a person who has grown up in a binational household, I'd say that the most likely issue to be encountered are the phonemes of each language, as they're quite different and hard to understand sometimes.
What I most hate about Brazilians speaking in English is their L.
The aspect that I have most difficulty with when talking with Uruguayans who also speaks English is the fact that they tend to insert a faster pace.
Uruguayans speak so fast in ways sometimes you can't understand them and what they are talking about.
Another thing that I struggle with, it's the use of code switching. When they use code switching, I don't understand nothing. They say, you know, hello, my name is, I don't know, Ramiro, and I don't really like it. It's frustrating to me.
As we don't manage this language, we cannot understand properly what they're trying to say sometimes.
They don't pronounce the L, it's L, and I sometimes find it really difficult to understand while talking with them.
Sounds familiar, right? Well, this is what our students keep telling us.
But actually, when we listen closely to what they said, we realized that it wasn't just about accents. Sometimes there was a bit about identity and also at times a touch of prejudice.
And this is puzzling because given our bilingual context, Portuguese and Spanish, and the abundance of bilingual families in which both languages are spoken, it's just curious that this very same people, when they switch to English, they claim that they cannot understand each other. And that got us thinking, well, perhaps it's time that we stop being just observers of this very bizarre phenomenon and actually do something to tackle the issue. So let's unpack the context a little bit.
So as you know, every year we have Brazilian students who cross into Uruguay to sit for Cambridge exams. And we also have a similar situation, but the other way around. We have Uruguayans that sit for the exams in Brazil.
At Cultural Santanense, where I work, apart from having students from Rivera and Livramento, we get people from cities such as Santa Maria, Alegrete, Bagé, Quaraí, Dom Pedrito. So our Brazilian and Uruguayan students are bound to be mixed in an exam situation. So the question here is, what are we doing? How and why are we not preparing our students to thrive in this mixed speaking environment?
So at first that was our challenge, but then we saw it as an opportunity.
I have a little bit of experience. In the past, I have organized some speaking sessions, speaking clubs, and debate sessions for students, but never with the explicit intention of addressing this issue in particular, the difficulty with the accent. So this time it was different.
And so the idea of Coffee and Conversation was born.
The premise was really simple. We thought, okay, we should create an interactive, safe environment in which our students from both nationalities can meet, speak in English, bridge that accent gap, and also, and better, let the students plan it all themselves. Oh, and we had, by the way, we had a very short time frame to work with. We had just 2 weeks from planning to execution, plus 1 additional week for some follow-up activities.
Okay, so during the project, as you can see, we had different roles. So students became venue coordinators, they became also schedulers, activity leaders, communicators, social media reporters. So everybody had a role. We had no passengers, so everybody was a driver.
And we made it a point to pair Brazilian and Uruguayan students within the group from the get-go, because we believed that this binational cooperation had to be built in from the very beginning. That was not optional.
So throughout the project, they had to negotiate. They negotiated different things such as the place, the time, the topics they were going to talk about, and they also had to manage real deadlines. Of course, they argued, as expected with teenagers. They argued, they compromised, and also they left. And most importantly, they learned to manage those deadlines.
It wasn't always smooth, we have to tell you. The first 4 days were like a crisis. We launched the project on a Friday, which perhaps on hindsight, it might have been a problem. And the students had their first challenge due over the weekend. My students, who are used to daily classes, and they are also used to working with projects, they jumped right into action, no hesitation there. The other group, who has fewer classes, moved at a slower pace. So by Monday, frustration and tension was running so high.
Okay, so we really want you to picture a WhatsApp group with more than 25 teenagers. Some of them were upset because they felt they were carrying the whole project themselves. Some other ones were also upset because they felt pressured about the deadlines and about the amount of work. And for a moment, we actually thought that the whole project might fall apart.
Yeah, we really think that we thought at some point that it might flop. But this conflict also became part of the learning curve with very clear teacher guidance, clear deadlines, and a healthy dose of patience. All this conflict and frustration from the beginning gradually turned into responsibility and cooperation. And by the end of the first week, most students were on board, collaborating, communicating, meeting the deadlines, fulfilling the tasks, and organizing the project.
So as you can imagine, and as we mentioned, it wasn't perfect, but it was authentic. So real teamwork did take place, and we do know that it does not happen without friction. And this friction actually helped them and taught them resilience, empathy, and also problem solving.
We wanted to keep the energy and the collaboration of the project going. And to that end, we set everyday tasks or every other day. Each challenge came with a 36-hour deadline so that the whole group could be kept always working towards the goal. Of course, the students had, apart from doing the task, they had to submit proof of their interaction of the process because we were assessing the process. And by proof, I mean very simple, screenshots of their conversations, videos of their WhatsApp interactions, which, by the way, had to be 100% in English. As for the complexity of the challenges, they were varied. I think the most challenging tasks were finding a suitable venue. That was difficult because of the size of the group, booking it, organizing the activities, and also creating the visual image of the project. Everything was done by the students. The lighter challenges involved things such as organizing a poll so that we would decide what time we were going to meet, and post quotes and questions to hype the event.
Okay, so the mix was thought with the intention of keeping everybody engaged. So we knew that we needed to avoid having deadwood as much as possible. And on Friday and Saturday morning, we actually took it upon ourselves to hype the group and get everybody on board. They knew about the place and time, but we just wanted to have a reminder. The communications team was in charge of it, but we just sent them some reminders of it, like a countdown, and just making sure that they knew we were expecting them.
And one of the most simple challenges, but it was one of the most endearing ones, was when we asked on the Friday or Friday before the event, just post a thank you message every time another member of the group does something for the project. And after the initial days of bickering, it was really sweet to see them, all of them, oh, thank you so much. The activities group is doing a wonderful job. Oh, thank you for the communications groups for doing this. So that part was really authentic and very endearing.
Right. So the day finally arrived. So we finally met at a coffee shop with conversation games. We also had some rotating groups. We had student-led activities, and we also had a playlist, which, by the way, got lots of compliments.
And as for we, the teachers, we just step back and we let the students run the show. It's important to say that we had some VIP guests as well. There were 4 alumni, 2 from Brazil, 1 from Uruguay, and a binational one, because we wanted the students to have the opportunity to interact with people who were close to them in age, but at the same time, they were more experienced language users. Oh, and now it's time to talk a little bit about, well, AI integration in Coffee and Conversation. So when we designed this project, Coffee and Conversation, AI was not at the center of it. That was not the intention. However, it is true that AI did help us teachers, in the backstage, mostly for brainstorming, to keep the project light, smoother, and to keep the communication flowing.
So with the help of AI, we created low commitment daily challenges so we could keep the synergy of the group and keeping it alive. We also adapted Veronica's existing PBL rubrics to fit into the specific needs of the binational project. And this just comes to show us that AI, as a teacher, the use of AI should be used as an assistant and not as a centerpiece. So as we mentioned earlier, we used it for different things. We had brainstorming, planning, differentiation, assessment, and documentation. So all of this was made easier by the use of AI. And again, we didn't want to make it the centerpiece. We just saw AI as a co-writer and just somebody that we can talk to and get some feedback from.
Yeah, it was our ETA, really. Now, regarding the students, how did the students use AI? Miguel, please, can you move to the next one? Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, AI was not at the center of this project, so honestly, we didn't monitor how much use of AI the students did because that was not the intention. However, when we concluded the project, we thought it would be a good idea to come up with some suggestions as to how students can use AI to if they want to conduct a project similar to this one, because this is our intention. What we want is for this project to become easily actionable and replicable for other educators. So here are some ways that students can use AI to help them as a co-pilot. For example, prepping the icebreakers, to gain cross-cultural insight. For instance, please ask me 10 quirky but respectful questions that Uruguayan and Brazilian teenagers would like to answer. Or to ensure the variety, Milton, can you just go to the previous one? It's not Milton, sorry. No, the next one, because I haven't finished. There. To ensure the variety and the pacing of the activities, this is something that AI can come in very helpful, mostly so that the activities are varied enough that the conversation doesn't fade out, and that they are also not restricted to simple questions and answers. They could also use it to polish their quotes and reflections. For example, when we posted those challenges, post a question. Some of the questions were, oh, if our meeting was a drink, what it would be. So students can use as proofreaders and for some inspirational quotes. Not to mention that for social media enhancement, AI can also come in handful to help students proofread, co-write, and polish the hashtags. Next, please.
Okay, so now the fun part. So we want you to mingle a little bit. We want to hear from you. So the idea here is that you turn to somebody that you do not know well. If it can be somebody from a different institution, that's even better. And this is the sentence that we have for you, the question that we have from you. That is, would you rather live without the internet or without music?
Let me listen to the instructions first. So we have here in the house people from Cultural Santanense and from other institutions as well. So we would like you to form groups of 3 or 4. I think we're a few people, so perhaps trios would be ideal. Make sure that in each group there is a person from a different nationality. You will have 2 minutes to discuss the prompt. When the time is up, we will let you know, and we want you to rotate, change group, and keep talking about the same questions. And remember, do not worry about accent, just connect and share, okay? There you go. No, don't mingle with them. Mingle, don't believe us. Oh, but that's kind of cheating.
Creo que sí, llegamos a las 18, ¿no? 15 minutos.
Oh, no, we have time. We have time. Okay, are you checking the 2 minutes?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
We only have the test, so we only have one.
I see lots of smiles.
Yeah, that's right. Let's go to break the mold of just listen to it. So what do we have left?
You go to congratulations, you just took part and then this, and then the menu.
Yeah, 30 seconds. Okay, guys, the 2 minutes are up. So please mingle again.
Yeah. Reorganize, shuffle, change people. Yeah. Talk to different people. Sorry, what's your name? So we can call him. Get sorry, but I thought it was Milton because I didn't see she was in front of me and I got He has to switch back to that presentation.
I also did.
Time.
Okay, everybody. So time's up. Please go back to your places.
Back to your places, everyone.
Okay, so actually that was a tough one. I mean, that's a hard question to answer. Without music, no doubts, without the internet, and without the internet as well. Yeah, rocking some tunes. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if we don't have the internet, we can go back to listening to cassettes or CDs or vinyl. So
We
who
can
knows?
make music.
Yeah, we can make music ourselves. We can listen to it online. That doesn't count as cheating. It's either one or the other one. So good. So congratulations, you just took part in a mini binational speaking club. That was quite easy, right?
Yeah, that was just a bite-size taste of it, minus the coffee, because we cannot have coffee in the room. So what did our students gain from this? Well, we hope that they gained confidence, fluency, and most importantly, the understanding that accent should not be a barrier. They also gain very valuable experience into planning a project like this, an event like this, because as educators, this is what we want. We always want our students to be independent and to be agents of change and community builders.
Okay, so here we have some student reflections. One of them said the activity was a great mix of fun and learning, and I really enjoyed reconnecting with my teacher and former classmates while getting to know her new students.
The event was great. I loved to get the chance of speaking to other students, and I found it very fulfilling as I got to improve my English in some conversation topics we don't usually talk about in the classroom.
Although I couldn't attend the event, I believe that it was very fun, a very fun activity, and I wish that the teachers organize another meeting to be able to show up.
I loved the event. It gave me the chance to practice my speaking again after some time without classes, brush up on formal vocabulary, especially connecting phrases, and reconnect with old classmates. Next one. Oh, and this is, by the way, this is a testimonial from one of the staff members at the coffee shop who was waiting on our table.
So he said, o evento foi bem bacana, o pessoal interagiu bastante e todo mundo participou. Foi legal ver como as pessoas de dois países diferentes usaram o inglês para entender uns aos outros e dividir essa experiência.
Now let's see what some of the students, the Miguel's students,
Yeah,
have to
here
say.
are some of my students who wanted to share what they've learned as well.
It was a great opportunity to interact with other people that we don't know, and I learned a lot from it.
This week, we had an amazing meeting with our Brazilian neighbors on the Paz Café. We practiced English together, shared conversations, and learned from each other. Through our activities, we connected, improved our skills, and built new friendships. A great experience that shows how language brings people close. It was a fulfilling experience, an opportunity to know people from another country and know them as persons and their culture. It's a great experience working with people from other countries. Everyone contributed to the project and it was fun. I hope we can do it again so those who couldn't go, like me, and have the same chance to experience it.
Taking part of this event was very interesting. Even though I didn't attend to the coffee meeting, for what I've seen so far, the event was good. I really appreciate the cooperation in each groups and how we managed to work together successfully.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the assessment just before we go. And this is a point where AI really proved very useful, as I used it to help me adapt my pre-existing PBL assessment criteria to this very specific event. As you can see, can you show the assessment criteria?
No.
Yeah, let's go to the one there. So as you can see, we didn't just assess speaking skills. That was not the only point of the project. We assessed the students in terms of planning, leadership, and cross-cultural respect. Because as I said before, in this project, the students, they were not only speakers, they were organizers, they were planners, and they were community builders. And this is the assessment of the process, yes. And the other one, I believe, was the assessment of the day. Of course, if you want to check this assessment criteria out later, feel free to use the QR code.
So you can, we can actually send you and make this presentation available to you if you want to check, as Veronica said, the event criteria and the process criteria as well. But actually, the project didn't end up on that Saturday morning, the afternoon in that cafe. So actually, apart from students reflecting and sharing on social media, they are open to the idea of having more events like this. And the cool part about it is that they want us to organize future events so we can raise donations for local charities, being it food, clothes, or even pet medicine.
So if this worked here with us in our border with such a short time frame, why not in your context, in your borders? And this is our invitation for you today.
So all it takes is space, some structure, and trust in your students.
So here is our challenge for you today. Grab your phone, grab them, and there's a code here. So grab your phones, jot down, and share. Share one binational cross-school project idea for your context, because we believe that if it worked with us, it can work with you. So let's do it. We're going to give you some time for that. Music-based lesson, oh, that's so great. Oh, music-based lesson, that's great. But it was the case, I like Oh, yeah. Drama day, always a classic. I like to invite the kid who sang this morning. Currency learning and exchange. Oh, okay, time down.
All right, guys, time's up. Thank you for your contributions.
Amazing ideas. Let's do it. I can see all of them happening.
Yeah, so we are gonna save up your ideas so we can get back to you, and who knows, maybe you're gonna be part of this. Thank you.
Please, by all means. Thank you very much. By the way, just before we go, we have 3 superstars here. These 3 girls, they were part of the project. As students, we have a member of the social media team who created all the visual identity of the event and the social media posts. Malu, you were in the communications group. Okay, so you had to deal with all the communication within your group and in the larger group, and you were in the schedule one, right, Eve? So thanks to them, because they were the ones who made all of this happen. Thank you very much, people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica and Miguel.
Thank you.
Well, we have arrived to the end. Thank you so much, everyone, for this first day. We hope to see you tomorrow again. We will start at 8:15. Thank you once again to everyone here. And well, hope you can recharge your batteries and see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Goodbye.